Chapter 1239. Fury makes you lose it. Chapter 1239. Fury makes you lose it. Inside the battle fortress. Bam! Jian Wushuang had been violently shaking, but now, he finally quieted down. After he fully calmed himself, Jian Wushuang's body took on a faint golden glow. This golden glow came with expansive aura. This is the divine light? Gu King was shocked. How is it possible? Didn't he combine 3 strongest sword principles and acquire the immortal Dharma body? How can there be a divine light? Didn't he cultivate the immortal divine body instead of the immortal Dharma body? Knowledgeable as Gu King, he could not help but find Jian Wushuang's change shocking. Combine the sword principles, cultivate the immortal Dharma body, and finally become a celestial master. After that, transform the immortal Dharma body for the second time, form the immortal divine body, and become a universe master. The body of a universe master was already a real-deal divine body. But now, Jian Wushuang's body took on a golden divine light, which only belonged to an immortal divine body. After the transformation, Jian Wushuang's body had exceeded the immortal Dharma body and became an immortal divine body. With the immortal divine body, Jian Wushuang did not fall into the category of celestial master anymore, but a universe master. He had become a universe master in leaps and bounds. Is that what an inverse cultivator can do? Gu King gasped. In addition, he not only transformed his body, but also the soul fire within his sea of consciousness. The soul fire inside him had been very fragile, but after the transformation, the soul fire was more than 10 times stronger than before. The soul power was completely transformed as well. Inside the battle fortress, sitting on the ground cross-legged, Jian Wushuang finally opened his eyes. At the moment, a fierce light shot out. It was so sharp that it could even chill a universe master's bones. Then, the fierce light directly tore apart the void in its way. Jian Wushuang slowly stood up, and he heard his bones crackling. He had not sat for a long time, but he felt as if he had been sitting for hundreds of millions of years. Jian Wushuang, how are you feeling now? Gu King suddenly asked. How am I feeling now? Jian Wushuang paused and continued. I feel very strong. Strong? Gu King was dazed. However, Jian Wushuang just ignored him and flew out. Soon, he showed up outside the battle fortress. Jian Wushuang appeared on the battlefield. He stood in the void on the top, and brought forth the strength of soul from his sea of consciousness. Immediately, he had covered the vast battlefield with his soul power. Everyone and everything on the battlefield were projected in his mind. At the same time, people on the battlefield immediately spotted him. Jian Wushuang. Palace Master Wushuang. It is Palace Master Wushuang. On the battlefield, numerous people exclaimed and fixed their eyes on Jian Wushuang. Shuanger. At the core of the battlefield, a cyan-dressed man who was surrounded by 4 universe masters looked up in the direction of Jian Wushuang. This man was no other than Jian Wushuang's master, Jian Nantian. At this moment, only his upper half body remained, his legs had been cut off. However, he still managed to fight against 4 Jin Kingdom universe masters. When he saw Jian Wushuang, he smiled thoughtfully. Jian Wushuang. The white-haired Tang Emperor, who grew a cinnabar mole between his eyebrows, was covered in blood. His aura had decreased to the lowest point. The elixir's strength and his resentment supported him to continue killing. At this moment, Tang Emperor also looked at Jian Wushuang. On the ground below, Emperor Shao, who had broken through to be a celestial master, laid in a pool of blood. Only half of his body remained, but he managed to survive. He was trying his best to heal himself, in order to get on the battlefield again, to kill the Jin Kingdom experts again. When Jian Wushuang walked out of the battle fortress, Emperor Shao saw him too. Jian Wushuang, my good son-in-law, you finally wake up. In a place on the battlefield, a man and a woman were leaning against each other. Around them, 13 Jin Kingdom experts gathered. They were Yang Zishuan and Su Rou. Yang Zishuan had completely changed to a dragon man. Su Rou had opened her azure eyes as well. Their auras looked weak. Obviously, they had reached a point where they could not carry on. But now, they all saw Jian Wushuang in the distance. Then Yang Zishuan and Su Ro both smiled. Brother, we've been waiting for you for a long time. Covered in blood, a man beyond recognition stood in the center of the battlefield. He held a saber in one hand and a battle axe in the other. He used two magic weapons to fight against the Jin Kingdom experts. He was Jian Wushuang's senior brother, Xue Lingtian. Xue Lingtian used sabers. The battle axe he held used to belong to the deceased Bai Hu. Among Jian Wushuang's three senior brothers, only Xue Lingtian survived. Junior brother, it's your turn. Jian Wushuang. Palace Master Wushuang. Everyone from the Green Fire world looked at Jian Wushuang. He was their last hope. Jian Wushuang had witnessed everything on the battlefield. He saw their weak auras, their moanings and lingering hope. He could even hear the whole Green Fire world roaring. At the same time, he also sensed the already lost, disappeared auras. Samsara Temple Master, Void Temple Master, Red Lotus Palace Master. Jian Wushuang murmured. Third senior brother, Emperor Yun, Huaqiong, Palace Master Su Qian, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory, and Ape Celestial Master. Do we lost all of them? Jian Wushuang clenched both hands, and his heart was beating violently. Boom, 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 boom. His heart beat like a drum. Gradually, Jian Wushuang's face was twisting. The Jin Kingdom. Jian Wushuang roared. Even his soul spat these two words. Fury. Unprecedented fury filled Jian Wushuang's mind and soul in an instant. Fury could make him lose it. Chapter 1240. One stroke that could crumble the world. Chapter 1240. One stroke that could crumble the world. The Jin Kingdom. A thunder of roar echoed in the ears of all Jin Kingdom experts. They all looked up and noticed Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang. Holding a spear in the center of the battlefield, the Jin Kingdom monarch saw Jian Wushuang and squinted. He could sense the change of aura on Jian Wushuang. Has he broken through? But the battle will end soon, he is late. The Jin Kingdom monarch was highly confident. In this ultimate battle, the Green Fire world was actually in a disadvantaged position. Now they were even more imperiled. Only a small number of Green Fire world experts were still struggling. At this time, even if he broke through, even if he was able to compete with him, so what? The die was cast. How can Jian Wushuang alone change anything? But at this moment, under everyone's eyes, Jian Wushuang shook. In his sea of consciousness, the improved soul fire had been burning wildly. In an instant, immense soul power poured out like a tide. Clang! Immaterial soul power swept in all directions and covered the entire battlefield like a realm. All experts on the battlefield could clearly sense a force around themselves. This kind of power was strange and unreachable, but they could feel the existence of this power. What is he going to do? Many experts on the battlefield looked doubtful and failed to understand Jian Wushuang's behaviors. At this moment, Jian Wushuang looked ferocious with his immense killing intent. He coldly stared at the Jin Kingdom experts on the battlefield. All Jin Kingdom experts die. Just at the moment when he finished his sentence, the soul power that had filled the entire battlefield burst out to form numerous soul spikes. Then, they directly rushed to the nearest Jin Kingdom experts. Massacre. This was the largest massacre with the soul power. Only people who had ignited their soul fire and improved it to a certain level could do this. Before the transformation, he couldn't display it. But when he had combined the three strongest sword principles, he had greatly improved his soul fire. Now it was time to exert himself to display the move. This move affected the entire battlefield. It affected all Jin Kingdom experts on the battlefield. The move contained the entire Green Fire world's endless fury and the resentment that accumulated over the past 5 million years. The move was the biggest counterattack Jian Wushuang performed at the brink of the fall of the Green Fire world. It was one stroke that could crumble the world. The soul spikes formed by the soul power swept every Jin Kingdom experts on the battlefield. Then they instantly pierced their skins. Buzz! Everything was quiet. The soul power attack was supposed to be silent, without any noise. In the silence, the remaining nearly 2,000 Jin Kingdom experts on the battlefield widened their eyes. Celestial masters and universe masters all gawked and froze in the middle of the air. No one spoke, and no one made a sound. The entire battlefield fell silent. This strange scene left the Green Fire World experts in great shock. What happened? What happened to the Gene Kingdom experts? Why are they frozen? People was puzzled and in doubt. All the Gene Kingdom experts' time seemed to pause. Of course, this pause only lasted for a moment. Soon, Red's now king in the crowd quickly regained his consciousness. Consciousness attack, a strong consciousness attack. Red's now king secretly admired and turned around. Behind the Red Snow King, there were supposed to be several celestial masters in exceptional realm. However, when Red's now king turned around, he grew pale. He found they were quiet. Dead. Red's now king was startled. However, this was just the beginning. Buzz. When the soul power completely dispersed, the world became audible again. But at the next moment, a creepy scene appeared. In the void on the battlefield, splash! Numerous bodies fell to the ground like raindrops. After that, there was no more noise. Too many bodies had fallen to the ground. Originally, there were nearly 2,000 Gene Kingdom experts on the battlefield, but now 9/10 of them had turned into raindrops that fell to the ground. Only those stronger universe masters remained above in the void. Within moments, among a large number of Gene Kingdom experts, only several top experts remained. Deafening silence. The vast world fell completely silent. No sound was heard. The remaining Gene Kingdom experts on the battlefield and many unaffected Green Fire World experts all looked scared, even stunned. They all stared at the ground below. None of the Gene Kingdom experts who fell to the ground rose up again. They stayed there forever. Dead, they are all dead. A Green Fire World murmured. All Gene Kingdom experts who fell to the ground died. None of them survived. There had nearly been 2,000 experts. In an instant, only a few dozens of universe masters lasted. All celestial masters had all deceased. No. Impossible. Dream, this must be a dream. I don't accept this. When the remaining Gene Kingdom experts finally collected themselves, they screamed and roared. They were roaring in disbelief. Even the calm Gene Kingdom monarch looked terrified in disbelief. His 2,000 celestial masters were killed in an instant. What was this skill? How did Jian Wushuang manage to use this skill? How could he utilize such an incredible skill? How did he do it? Chapter 1241 Jian Wushuang and the Gene Kingdom Monarch. Chapter 1241 Jian Wushuang and the Gene Kingdom Monarch. No. The remaining Gene Kingdom universe masters on the entire battlefield were all caught in an unprecedented horror. Jian Wushuang's move was terrifying. He used only one move to kill all their celestial masters. Although for the Gene Kingdom, universe masters were their pillars. However, after the war, when they started to search for treasures on this battlefield, they would need a large number of celestial masters. But now, the celestial masters had all been wiped out. How could they stay calm? And what was more horrifying was Jian Wushuang's incredible skill. Contrary to the Gene Kingdom, the Green Fire World rejoiced over the massacre. 2,000 celestial masters had been killed in an instant. One must know that only less than 200 Green Fire World celestial masters remained. They had been using battle formations to make up for their strength gaps. But now all Gene Kingdom celestial masters were dead. This alone pulled back the Green Fire World from the crisis of destruction. In this ultimate battle, they finally saw the stroke of dawn. Zhuang'er, Jian Nantian clasped his hands firmly, and his eyes sparkled with unprecedented surprises. One must know that the one launched the overwhelming move was his son, Jian Wushuang. Tang Emperor, Emperor Shao, Xueling Tian, Yang Zishuan, and Suro all became excited again. They knew that Jian Wushuang would never let them down. Above the void, Jian Wushuang hovered emotionlessly. He just slaughtered so many Gene Kingdom celestial masters, but did not feel pity at all. As he said before, all Gene Kingdom experts must die. Gu King inside his body secretly admired. It's a soul outclass. Under normal circumstances, only the founder of the Star Bloodline and King Luozhen, can use the skill. He actually utilized it when he's only a universe master. What an inverse cultivator! He's ignited the fire of soul as a Tao master. Incredible! If he keeps improving his soul power, in the future, when he reaches the level of the founder of the Star Bloodline and King Luozhen, how strong will his soul power be? Formidable. A formidable inverse cultivator. Gu King knew very well how demanding Jian Wushuang's previous move was. However, being an inverse cultivator, Jian Wushuang ignited the soul power as a Tao master and managed to exert that skill as a universe master. And this skill had directly wiped out all the Jin Kingdom celestial masters on the battlefield. In an instant, the situation completely changed. Of course, although the situation had been reversed, it did not mean the green fire world was already safe. After all, Jian Wushuang only killed the Jin Kingdom celestial masters. Their universe masters and the supreme monarch remained intact. Swoosh! Under the eyes of everyone, Jian Wushuang dashed and crossed over a half of the battlefield. Then, he appeared in front of the Jin Kingdom monarch. Jin Kingdom monarch. Jian Wushuang sounded cold. Jian Wushuang. Likewise, the Jin Kingdom monarch's eyes flashed with coldness. Just now, the Jin Kingdom monarch saw Jian Wushuang and did not pay much attention, because he thought it would not change anything even if he had broken through. However, in a short period of time, Jian Wushuang proved him wrong. He alone was able to change the situation. Humph! The Jin Kingdom monarch snorted. In his eyes, there was immense killing intent. And at the next moment he moved. A harsh wind-breaking sound rang. The Jin Kingdom monarch showed up in front of Jian Wushuang. The black spear held by him took on a dark glow and overwhelming strong power. It rushed toward Jian Wushuang's chest. Splash! It pierced through the void. A hole that covered a range of thousands of miles formed. At the core of this big hole, a streak of bright black light rose up. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang squinted and did not draw a sword or perform any swordsmanship to resist. Just when the black flowing light was less than 1 meter away from him, he finally lifted his hand. He caught the flowing light with his mighty right hand. Boom! The power that could easily wipe out a universe master burst out. But Jian Wushuang still clenched the streak of light in his palm. He did not release his hands until the power in the flowing light completely dissipated. What? Even the Jin Kingdom monarch was shocked. Jian Wushuang dared to resist his attack barehanded. And he actually succeeded. Jin Kingdom monarch. Jian Wushuang hovered still expressionlessly. He was still holding the black long spear. Being the head of a country and leading so many universe masters and celestial masters, you must be better than this. Get all your strengths out, or it will be dull to beat you. Jian Wushuang's voice spread slowly. At the moment he finished, he flicked his wrists. Then the Jin Kingdom monarch took a few steps back. After regaining his stance, the Jin Kingdom once again looked at Jian Wushuang with a more serious manner. Jian Wushuang. The Jin Kingdom monarch spoke slowly. I've seen your potential before and know you're very promising, and might pose a threat to me. Now I still underestimated you. I regret it. Regret? Jian Wushuang was astonished. I regret that. When you wanted to destroy my enduring samsara formation, I didn't wipe you out at all costs. You actually escaped twice from me. The Jin Kingdom monarch sounded cold. If I've killed you at all costs, then it would not be so hard to raze the green fire world to the ground. But now, the Jin Kingdom monarch looked around and wore a terrible face. When the Jin Kingdom first arrived on the battlefield, they had mighty combat power and numerous experts. After the last round of battle, especially after Jian Wushuang's horrifying move, in addition to him, only dozens of universe masters survived. If he wanted to occupy such a large battlefield with so few people, he would be lunatic. The Jin Kingdom has lost the battle. The Jin Kingdom monarch clasped his hands tightly, and although he was extremely unwilling, he had to admit it. With their current combat power, it would be unrealistic to occupy a huge battlefield like this, let alone wipe the green fire world off the face of the earth. Chapter 1242 Universe God. Chapter 1242 Universe God. If Jian Wushuang were not there, the monarch of Kingdom Jin could bring doom to the entire green fire world on his own. However, he had tried to measure Jian Wushuang's strength in a tentative attack, and realized the latter might not be any stronger than him now, but definitely would not be much weaker. He did not have absolute confidence he could defeat Jian Wushuang, even if they were to fight flat out. He would not have the chance to eliminate the green fire world, as long as Jian Wushuang was in the way. No need for any further nonsense, monarch of Kingdom Jin. The inferno between your country and green fire world has lasted for 5 million years and can only be terminated with the death of either party. Now is the time to settle the accounts between us and between the two forces behind us, said Jian Wushuang in a deep voice. To settle our accounts? The monarch of Kingdom Jin asked, slightly lifting his mouth. You seem to be quite confident, huh? Okay, as you wish, he said. Today's fight will decide to whom this battlefield belongs, and also which of the two forces shall survive, said Jian Wushuang. Bring it, said the monarch of Kingdom Jin. Upon finishing his words, the monarch of Kingdom Jin waved his hands. Immediately, his jade-black long spear disappeared, and was replaced with a golden one. The golden long spear shone with brilliant gloss, and exhibited mighty strength that spread all over the sky. It was apparently much more powerful than the jade-black one. The perceived strength of the monarch of Kingdom Jin started to rise fiercely and increased to a new, higher level. His entire body was enveloped by the thick glow of divine-like glory, emitting numerous strands of energy, as well as a terrifying sense of threat. Elites from the two forces on the battlefield all shivered with fear upon perceiving his strength. Retreat, retreat right away, shouted the people on the battlefield. Immediately, the surviving elites from both Kingdom Jin and Green Fire World stopped fighting in unison and retreated to the edge of the battlefield, afraid of being dragged involuntarily into the fierce battle between these peak powers. Standing in the void sky, Jian Wushuang's eyes froze when they perceived the mighty strength exhibited by the monarch of Kingdom Jin. Just as I thought, the monarch of Kingdom Jin didn't reveal his full strength before, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Jian Wushuang, be cautious. This guy has truly obtained extraordinary strength, said Gu King. The king of venomous worms' voice suddenly sounded. When he attacked earlier, only a fraction of his divine power could be perceived, which led me to conclude that the divine power inside him had been fully transformed. But now, he must have finished the transformation and has become a genuine universe god. Universe god? The level beyond universe master? Asked Jian Wushuang. Definitely, king of venomous worms said and nodded. A universe master would undergo a second transformation from immortal Dharma body to divine body of invincibility. Although the divine body of invincibility is obtained, a universe master still has to extract power from the spiritual power within his system. Thus, he would be half equivalent to a god and half to a human. The advancement from Holy Master to Universe Master is just half a step forward, he continued. A full step forward can betaken only if one becomes a universe god, when all spiritual power within his system is transformed into divine power. Only a combination of infinite divine power and divine body of invincibility can create a genuine immortal god, unparalleled in the eternal chaotic world, he explained further. Really? Jian Wushuang said, nodding to himself understandingly. The universe master fits between the holy master and the universe god. Becoming a universe master was just half a step forward. A full step forward could only be taken if he became a universe god. Yet obviously it would not be easy to take a full step forward. A genuine universe god with complete divine power is extremely powerful, the king of venomous worms said solemnly. Extreme power is my pursuit, Jian Wushuang exclaimed, his expression still not changing. He had absolute confidence in his strength now. Having integrated 3 of the most powerful principles for swordsmanship, and built my divine body of invincibility, how much more powerful can I become? Jian Wushuang asked. Let me find out with the monarch of Kingdom Jin, he shouted. Jian Wushuang stuck out his tongue, licking his lips. The Blood Mountain sword appeared in his hands. The Blood Mountain sword was a gift from his master Xian Yi, The weapon contained the power to suppress, but did not show much mighty strength on its own. But after having integrated 3 of the most powerful principles for swordsmanship, and advancing to higher levels, when he wielded the Blood Mountain sword again, the weapon seemed to be much more powerful than he imagined. Its mighty strength had not been fully revealed until now. The Blood Mountain sword emitted a gentle, echoing sound while shaking madly. It seemed to be cheering because its mighty strength had finally been discovered and activated by Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang could also sense that the Blood Mountain sword was different now. An embryo sword, he exclaimed. It is an embryo sword, the king of venomous worms said. The king of venomous worms spoke in shock to Jian Wushuang's heart. I was wondering why a master of refining weapons like yours had gifted you with an seemingly ordinary sword, a chaos magic treasure off normal level. It's not until now that I've realized that your master has given you an embryo sword, said the king of venomous worms. An embryo sword is capable of increasing its own strength continuously through battling and killing. Besides that, if you are able to achieve success in terms of unique skills, the sword's mighty strength can multiply when you incorporate them into it, he continued. An embryo sword of this kind has always been precious and rare to find in the markets of the eternal chaotic world, exclaimed the king of venomous worms. Upon hearing the king of venomous worms' words, Jian Wushuang smiled distractedly. He did not care whether it or not it was an embryo sword. All he knew was that his Blood Mountain sword was very eager to engage in a fierce battle, and was thirsty for blood. It was hungry for the blood of powerful elites. Monarch of Kingdom Jian, Jian Wushuang said, fixing his eyes on the monarch before him. Jian Wushuang, the monarch said, staring back at him. Fire seemed to be burning where their eyes met. No more exchange of words was needed when their eyes met each other. Swoosh, swoosh. Both of them moved. The 2 of them suddenly appeared at the center of the battlefield. Swordsmanship Skyfall, shouted Jian Wushuang. Killing intents were welling up and roaring in Jian Wushuang's eyes. He wielded the Blood Mountain sword with both hands, and immediately struck downward, following an echoing stern cry. Splat! The entire space was cut apart. Dragon Star, shouted the monarch of Kingdom Jian. Divine power was springing up from all over the body of the monarch of Kingdom Jian. The golden long spear in his hands transformed into a flash of golden light, like a giant golden dragon, which roared and instantly broke out of a void in the sky. Fueled by divine power, the long spear emitted great and mighty power, enough to shake the whole world. Bang! Following a loud boom, the entire sky was torn apart and opened up a huge boundless black hole. Both Jian Wushuang and the monarch of Kingdom Jian retreated into the black hole after the shock, but the monarch of Kingdom Jian only backed up 2 steps before being able to stand firmly. Then he darted out of the hole like a ghost. Die, he shouted. The monarch of Kingdom Jian reached Jian Wushuang, piercing his head with the golden long spear without any resistance. Chapter 1243 Summit Battle. Chapter 1243 Summit Battle. The harsh wind was whistling, and the golden long spear pierced through Jian Wushuang's head like lightning, but it appeared not to have touched the flesh. Is it a residual shadow? The monarch of the Jin kingdom was shocked. A ghostly figure appeared beside the monarch of the Jin kingdom, and with a slight chuckle the voice rang out. Sir, you're too slow. Immediately after these words the sword lit up. Spell of disturbance. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Thousands of sword shadows instantly appeared. After the 3 strongest levels of the sword principle were integrated, the swordsmanship of Jian Wushuang had been instantly metamorphosized and upgraded. The current spell of disturbance was at least dozens of times stronger than before. Thousands of sword shadows were coming down toward the monarch of the Jin kingdom, and before the sword shadows arrived, Jian Wushuang's horrible soul attack had already been in full force. Jian Wushuang had just killed nearly 2,000 holy masters of the Jin kingdom by means of soul attack, which demonstrated just how strong his soul attack was. His soul attack had been used for a wide range earlier, but now it was focused on one person. When the soul attack came, the monarch of the Jin kingdom felt a slight sting in his mind. And this stinging was getting stronger and stronger, with the unceasing swordsmanship attacks from Jian Wushuang. Humph! The monarch of the Jin kingdom grunted, and repeatedly attacked with his long spear. Clang! 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 The continuous crashes resounded through the air. The sky was rocked by each crash. There were nearly 100 crashes per second. In other words, there had almost been 100 head-on impacts between Jian Wushuang and the monarch within such a short time. This speed. At the perimeter of the battlefield, the experts of the two camps were staring with terror at the center of the battlefield broken into pieces. They could feel the power of the impact, but their strength was not enough for them to clearly see the details of the fight between Jian Wushuang and the monarch. Too fast. Both Jian Wushuang and the monarch of the Jin kingdom were too fast. Even the universe masters were unable to see clearly. If I was in a battle with such speed and power, I would have already died, thought the Reds now king of the Jin kingdom with a shocked face. He had been aware of the strength of the monarch of the Jin kingdom, and therefore he was not surprised at his battle strength. But he did not know that Jian Wushuang could also be so powerful. About 2,000 years before, he had been sent to assassinate Jian Wushuang with several other universe masters of the Jin kingdom. At that time, Jian Wushuang could not compete with them at all and escaped. But now, Jian Wushuang was able to compete with the monarch, who had always been supreme in the eyes of the Reds now king. This is power at the level of universe god. Long Su, king of the Jin kingdom, was also standing on the battlefield. His body was trembling, and he had an extremely complicated look on his face. He had always wished to become a universe god, even in his dreams. But unfortunately he was still far from it. He was not surprised at the monarch's powerful strength, because the monarch was a universe god. But he wondered why Jian Wushuang was also so powerful. Although he has made a breakthrough, he is only a universe master. How is it possible that a universe master is able to compete with the monarch? Long Su King was shocked. There were many invincible universe masters in the eternal chaotic world, and he was one. However, an invincible universe master was only invincible among universe masters. He would always be inferior to a universe god. He had never heard of a universe master competing with a universe god in the eternal chaotic world. But today he had seen it. A universe master had really contended with a universe god, and their strength was quite equal. At the center of the battlefield, bang, bang, the figures of Jian Wushuang and the monarch crashed into each other fiercely again and again. Red shadow. The divine power was rolling in the hands of the monarch, and then gathered onto the long spear. The spear had not yet been thrust, but the world around it had already rocked madly. The power of the long spear accumulated and finally burst out, leaving only a phantom in the void. The long spear shot out like lightning. Jian Wushuang gritted his teeth and disfigured his face. Then the blood mountain sword instantly flew out from his hand. The unique skill of swordsmanship. The stroke of dawn, Jian Wushuang shouted. The two terrifying attacks collided. For a time, the sky and the earth were shattering. After this impact, the monarch obviously could not resist the force. He could not help but fall back a few steps before he could regain his stance. His strength is even more powerful than my divine power? The monarch could not believe it. He did not know that Jian Wushuang had an inverse cultivation. Although Jian Wushuang was just a universe master, inverse cultivation could upgrade his strength to a higher level. In other words, a universe master with inverse cultivation was almost as powerful as a universe god. More importantly, Jian Wushuang's inverse cultivation had been integrated with the strongest 3 levels of sword principle. Moreover, Jian Wushuang was a 4-star imperial god at the highest level. In addition, Jian Wushuang also had the blood-killing plate armor, which could burst out stage 2 power and cause his offensive power to skyrocket again. All of these had made the current Jian Wushuang extremely powerful. Jian Wushuang was not inferior to a universe god with divine power. As a universe master in defiance of the natural order, he could overwhelm a universe god. It was because Jian Wushuang was a universe master in defiance of the natural order. He is not only better than me in terms of power, but his speed is also faster than mine. As for the defense, the monarch could not help but think of the scene where Jian Wushuang had taken his long spear with bare hands. If I was facing a long spear like that, I would never have had the guts to take it with bare hands, he thought. Jian Wushuang must have a very strong divine body that is beyond my imagination. He is just a universe master, but he is better than me in terms of strength, speed, and defense, the monarch asked himself. He raised his head and cast a look to Jian Wushuang like a fierce beast. If I cannot have the upper hand in terms of strength, speed, and defense, then I must resort to my unique skills. The monarch screamed, and his divine power was tumbling. Immediately, there was a huge ocean formed by the divine power spreading around. His whole body was filled with a horrible aura, and his eyes became scarlet. A golden thunderbolt was rising slowly from his golden long spear. The experts of the two camps around the battlefield were all horrified. Everyone held his breath and looked over to the monarch. Chapter 1244 Nirvana. Chapter 1244 Nirvana. At the center of the battlefield, the monarch of the Jin kingdom threw the long spear out of his hand, and his whole divine power suddenly burst forth. Unique skill. Immortality God, he shouted. Roar. With a sudden violent roar, a massive thunderbolt gathered on the fierce golden spear. In an instant, it formed an enormous golden thunderbolt exotic beast. This golden thunderbolt exotic beast was more than tens of thousands of miles in size. Its whole body was covered with golden thunderbolt. Once it was formed, it opened its bloody mouth and rushed directly at Jian Wushuang. Its horrible power would terrify the entire universe. Everyone around the battlefield was also horrified to see the golden thunderbolt exotic beast that appeared out of nowhere. Immortality God. This was the strongest move that the monarch had performed in this battle. Universe God. Unique skill. When Gu King saw this, he was shocked. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes and then turned back to look over toward the experts of the Green Fire world. 5 million years, Jian Wushuang murmured. It's been 5 million years of fights, and our Green Fire world has lost too many experts. The grievances between the Green Fire world and the Jin kingdom must be settled today. Then Jian Wushuang looked at the Blood Mountain sword in his hand. The power of the Blood Mountain sword surged, and the sword trembled with skyrocketing sword essence. The next sword attack. It is not for the sake of revenge for the many experts who died in the past 5 million years. It is not for letting out the endless anger of our Green Fire world. It is for the future of our Green Fire world, and for our future generations. Jian Wushuang exclaimed. It is to completely end this war, to let my Green Fire be reborn, and to usher in a new era. The name of the next sword attack is Nirvana. Jian Wushuang spoke very slowly, so that everyone in the place could hear it clearly. At this moment, his vast force had been integrated into the Blood Mountain sword. The three strongest sword principles combined. Jian Wushuang's understanding of the sword principles had also increased to the highest point. An intoxicating sword light suddenly appeared on the Blood Mountain sword and became more and more resplendent. Go! Jian Wushuang talked to the sword light, which then suddenly burst out. Since the stroke of dawn, the second unique skill created by Jian Wushuang, Nirvana, had also come to the world. The stroke of dawn was created by him when he had opened up the two strongest sword principles. Now he had opened up all three strongest sword principles and integrated them. When he was fighting fiercely in the decisive battle, he had a lot of deep understandings of the sword principles. With all of these prerequisites, he created the second unique skill, Nirvana. Jian Wushuang created this move in order to create a new era for the Green Fire world. It represented the future of the Green Fire world. It was also the hope of the Green Fire world. At the moment when the sword light was plucked, everyone could not help but be attracted to it. While the huge golden thunderbolt exotic beast was rushing in, the sword light went directly into its bloody mouth. The two collided. Buzz! There was no violent crashing sound as expected, but only the slight sound of tremors. However, the next moment the vast world began to tremble wildly. The earth below, the land that had been stained with blood, was crushed immediately. Dust and gravel were crushed into powder. A huge sinkhole, hundreds of thousands of miles wide, and more than 300 meters deep, appeared in the ground. At the same time, the collision also formed a blast wave, sweeping out in all directions. The experts in the two camps at the perimeter of the battlefield were swept by the blast wave for the first time. Puff, puff, puff. There were sounds of vomiting blood one after another. The experts were all hit by the impact. The remaining Tao masters of the Green Fire world were all blown away. Go hide behind the battle fortress. The Tang Emperor immediately issued an order. The Tao masters of the Green Fire world hurriedly fled to the battle fortress. In the middle of the battlefield, the two powers were still squeezing and slamming onto each other. But the stalemate had only lasted for a moment, and then the sword light became more brilliant. Voila! The golden exotic beast's bloody mouth was immediately cut open by the thunderbolt, and then the beast disappeared. What? The monarch of the Jin kingdom was shocked. His strongest move was completely crushed by Jian Wushuang. After defeating the golden exotic beast, the brilliant sword light appeared in front of the monarch. The monarch had no time to resist. Boom! The sword light carried an endless power and hit the monarch in his chest. The defense skill of the monarch was immediately crushed, and then his chest exploded. Whoosh! The monarch transformed into a golden flowing light and stumbled tens of thousands of miles backward before he could regain his stance. After he stopped, the people around the battlefield immediately looked over, and then everyone was horrified. The experts of the Jin kingdom could not even believe their eyes. The golden robe of the monarch was ruined and stained with blood, and his hair was disheveled. The most striking thing was the bull-size hole of blood in the chest of the monarch. This blood hole nearly penetrated the monarch's chest completely. How miserable it was. How can this be? The monarch actually lost. The invincible monarch has lost to a universe master of the Green Fire world. How is this possible? There were terrible screams from the camp of the Jin kingdom. The universe masters of the Jin kingdom could not believe what they had seen. The monarch of the Jin kingdom was a universe god. He was a genuine expert even in the eternal chaotic world. How could he lose to a universe master? They really could not accept this fact. Contrary to the Jin kingdom, the Green Fire world rejoiced. Victory! His Highness has defeated the monarch of the Jin kingdom. Kill him, Palace Master Wushuang. Kill him. The voices full of killing intent rang through the sky. Everyone in the Green Fire world looked at the monarch of the Jin kingdom. Their eyes were filled with endless resentment. Chapter 1245, Trump Card of the Monarch. Chapter 1245, Trump Card of the Monarch. Kill him. Wushuang Palace Master, strike him down. He must die. As yellings full of resentment and killing intent kept reaching his ears, Jian Wushuang's face turned grave. The Jin kingdom was against us for all the past 5 million years, and the Green Fire Palace suffered heavy losses during this period of time. Especially in those 2 consecutive battles, many of our high-level experts lost their lives. The monarch of the Jin kingdom is the one who caused all of this. To completely end this, I must kill the monarch of the Jin kingdom. However, why is he still alive? I thrust my sword into his chest, and his heart should be smashed now. Jian Wushuang thought in surprise. He meant to kill the monarch with the blow. Nevertheless, the king was just badly hurt after receiving the blow. Jian Wushuang, the monarch of the Jin kingdom, is a universe god. His divine power and divine body have already reached the perfect realm, and so has his life core. Besides, he's capable of using some skills to protect his life core. Although you crushed his heart, you failed to destroy his life core. That's why he's still alive, said Gu King. This monarch's life core is hidden inside his head. If you want to take his life, you must smash his head to pieces. Can I really end his life by breaking his head? Jian Wushuang thought, his eyes filled with a strong killing intent. The monarch of the Jin kingdom was now several thousand kilometers away from Jian Wushuang. He was trembling with fear, looking surprised. He had never expected himself to be defeated by Jian Wushuang, a universe master. Monarch of the Jin Kingdom. Jian Wushuang suddenly roared to the monarch. The monarch raised his head immediately and caught sight of the murderous look in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Today you must die, Jian Wushuang said in a cold voice as he came at the monarch. The monarch's face turned ferocious as he responded with a snort. Jian Wushuang, I admit that your cultivation levels are above mine. But do you really believe that you can take my life? I do not think you can do that. As soon as the monarch finished his sentence, he waved his hand to summon a flowing silver light. The silver light was moving at a shocking speed. In the blink of an eye, it had come close to Jian Wushuang. Suddenly, it transformed into a streak of lightning and dashed toward Jian Wushuang with amazing speed and ferocity. What's this? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows in surprise and immediately brandished his sword to fend off the attack. Clang! A deafening sound rang out. Jian Wushuang could not help stepping backward. The experts of the Green Fire world, who were watching the fight around the battlefield, were shocked. They found it hard to believe that the silver thing could easily knock Jian Wushuang away. After all, Jian Wushuang had demonstrated his strength not long ago. His strength was obviously stronger than that of the monarch. Even when the monarch had performed at his highest level, Jian Wushuang had been able to ward off his attacks. When Jian Wushuang managed to stand on his feet again, he narrowed his eyes and gazed at the silver-armored burly man. His countenance turned grim as he said through gritted his teeth, "Fire puppet!" The flowing silver light, which had forced Jian Wushuang to step backward instantly, was a fire puppet. It used to belong to the Green Fire world. To break a formation, the Green Fire Palace had sent it out to stop the monarch of the Jin Kingdom during a previous battle, but instead of removing the formation, it had been taken away by the monarch. Now the monarch used it against Jian Wushuang. Damn it! He's fire gems. That's why he's able to manipulate the fire puppet, said Jian Wushuang. One had to use fire gems to manipulate a fire puppet. After countless years of search on the battlefield, the Green Fire Palace had only collected a small amount of fire gems, and during the previous battle, they had run out of them. Jian Wushuang had once thought that the monarch would have never been unable to control the puppet even after getting some fire gems, but now it turned out that he had underestimated this monarch. Fire gems are rare indeed, but if a universe god is interested in them, he can always manage to get some. The monarch of the Jin Kingdom probably happens to have some fire gems in his hands. Gu Qing's voice sounded in Jian Wushuang's mind. Jian Wushuang agreed with Gu Qing. All the bases of the Jin Kingdom on this battlefield had been destroyed by the Green Fire Palace. Given this, it was impossible for the monarch to get any fire gem from this battlefield. Therefore, there was only one explanation for this. He had attained some fire gems from somewhere else. In fact, the monarch had indeed possessed some fire gems before he came to this world, but his gems were not enough to activate the fire puppet. He was able to manipulate the fire puppet now since he had bought plenty of fire gems from Jiushi. Jiushi was a master in formation, and many formations required gems. That was why Jiushi owned lots of different rare gems, including fire gems. She had sold all of her fire gems to the monarch of the Jin Kingdom at a costly price. With the help of those fire gems, the monarch finally succeeded in manipulating the fire puppet. I have many fire gems. Although they're not enough to make this fire puppet exert its full strength, they can make the puppet release more power and fight longer than it did when it was under your manipulation, the monarch said with a snort. Now I have this fire puppet. I'll wait and see who'll be killed in the end. The monarch ordered Fire Puppet with a hideous look. Strike him down. Now the fire puppet was under the control of the monarch of the Jin Kingdom. Hearing his order, it dashed towards Jian Wushuang without hesitation. A flash of silver light streaked across the void. Even Jian Wushuang could only barely capture its movement. It's moving so fast, Jian Wushuang exclaimed inside. I can perceive that this fire puppet owns an overwhelming battle strength. I guess that it has almost entered the peak realm of a universe god. This puppet is much stronger than the monarch. Jian Wushuang, be careful, Gu King warned. Jian Wushuang nodded seriously. When the silver-armored fire puppet came at him with its silver-long spear, Jian Wushuang immediately dashed forward to confront it with a determined look in his eyes. In the center of the battlefield, Jian Wushuang and the fire puppet had gotten into a fierce battle again. However, this battle only lasted seconds. Bang! A creepy explosion of energy rang out. Suddenly, a shadow above the void was falling down into the sinkhole in the ground. It was Jian Wushuang. The next moment he flew up again, looking a little bit haggard. Chapter 1246 10 Breaths. Chapter 1246 10 Breaths. Strong. Jian Wushuang stared at the fire puppet. He had not yet fully recovered from the shock. Our fight is brief, and during the fight, I even did not have a chance to strike back. This fire puppet is indeed much stronger than me, thought Jian Wushuang. Gu King, you've just told me that this fire puppet's battle strength is close to that of a top-notch universe god. Jian Wushuang groaned. But during the previous fight, I felt that its levels are far above those of a universe god. This fire puppet is much more powerful than the monarch of the Jin kingdom. There's an amazing gap between the top-notch universe gods and the ordinary ones. The top-notch universe gods can easily finish off a bunch of ordinary universe gods. In terms of battle strength, the monarch of the Jin kingdom is only a middle level and much weaker than those top-notch gods. But this fire puppet has almost stepped into the peak realm of a universe god. No doubt it's a much tougher opponent than the monarch, Gu King explained. I see, Jian Wushuang responded. As a martial arts cultivator, he quickly understood that. Jian Wushuang. The monarch's voice was heard again. You do have an impressive talent in cultivation. I've never met a cultivator more gifted than you in the eternal chaotic world. But unfortunately, you cannot take my life. I lost the fight today, but I hope that you'll never naively think that the Green Fire Palace can occupy this vast battlefield forever. Do not forget that I'm from the eternal chaotic world, and I'm an influential figure there. It'll not take long before I invite several of my good friends here. At that time, let's see how you're going to stop us. With these words, the monarch of the Jin kingdom laughed loudly. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang's eyes turned colder and sharper. He must die. Jian Wushuang gave off a strong sense of killing intent. He knew that the Green Fire world would never be in peace, as long as the monarch of the Jin kingdom was alive. To kill the monarch, he must get rid of this fire puppet first. Considering his current strength, he thought that there was only one way to achieve that goal. Boom! Jian Wushuang's aura began to swell and flow. Meanwhile, another unique power inside his body was surging. Jian Wushuang, are you going to use that technique? Gu King asked. Yeah. Jian Wushuang nodded gravely. Only in this way can my strength be suddenly increased by 10 times. With that strength, I'll be able to get rid of the fire puppet and finish off the monarch of the Jin kingdom. It's feasible, but you cannot maintain that strength for a long time. You'll have to hurry up, Gu King warned. I know, Jian Wushuang responded, his eyes sparkled with resolution. The next moment, a unique power hidden inside him burst out. This was the star's power. Jian Wushuang was exerting secret skills of stars. Only disciples of lineage of Star from Star Palace, who had passed the ultimate trial on Star Island, were qualified to practice this overwhelming secret skills of Star Palace. The secret skills were recorded in 3 volumes, and now Jian Wushuang was displaying the techniques in the first one. As soon as the secret skills of stars took effect, Jian Wushuang felt the increased powers. I have to finish this within 10 breaths. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists. Kill! Without any hesitation, Jian Wushuang dashed toward the monarch. Fire puppet, stop him! The monarch of the Jin kingdom commanded. Fire puppet came at Jian Wushuang with its silver-long spear. Jian Wushuang confronted it, his blood mountain sword in his hand emitting blazing light. Fire puppet had outclassed Jian Wushuang in their previous fights. Nevertheless, now Jian Wushuang was not weaker than the fire puppet. Instead, he even seemed a little bit stronger than it. Besides, Jian Wushuang was also versed in the use of a sword. Puppet fighter was just a puppet. Although puppets boasted impressive strength and defensive power, they lacked flexibility and techniques in fighting compared to human cultivators. Now they were well matched regarding battle strength. However, with resorting to his extraordinary sword skills, Jian Wushuang had only spent 4 breath time, throwing fire puppet away. Only 6 breaths left. Jian Wushuang gazed at the monarch of the Jin kingdom, his eyes filled with a strong killing intent. As soon as he got rid of the fire puppet, he came at the monarch. That's bad. The monarch of the Jin kingdom panicked when he saw Jian Wushuang rapidly approaching him. He understood everything from the murderous look in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Run! I have to escape now. The monarch turned around and fled away. At the same time, he gave orders to the fire puppet. Hurry! Stop him! Stop him now! However, after taking the blow, the fire puppet was now far away from Jian Wushuang. When it stood up and came at Jian Wushuang again, it was already too late for it to stop him. Jian Wushuang was faster than the monarch of the Jin kingdom. Now with the assistance of Star's power, his speed boosted up. Although the monarch was on the run with his full strength, Jian Wushuang still managed to get closer and closer to him. 50,000 kilometers. 45,000 kilometers. 40,000 kilometers. The monarch used to be at least several thousands of kilometers away from Jian Wushuang. But now Jian Wushuang was catching up quickly. Time fled away when Jian Wushuang was hunting down the monarch. His secret skills of Star Palace could only last 10 breaths. It had taken him 4 breaths to get rid of the fire puppet. Now he had only 6 breaths left. During the process of pursuing, he was secretly counting down the breaths he had. 5, 4, 3. At last, Jian Wushuang caught up with the monarch of the Jin kingdom. Now, he was left with only 1 breath time, before the secret skill of stars lost its effect. 1 breath is enough, thought Jian Wushuang. He stared at the monarch's back, a strong killing intent flickering in his eyes. Spell of disturbance. Whirring, fierce gales enveloped the monarch. Jian Wushuang brandished his sword with his full strength. Spell of disturbance was not a unique skill. However, once the practitioner used it properly, it could be more formidable than a unique skill. Besides, Jian Wushuang had used the secret skills of stars at the same time. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Streaks of sword light were shot out, and they quickly covered the monarch. No! The monarch gave off a sad, shrill roar, while desperately warding off those sword lights. However, Chapter 1247, The Jin Kingdom Monarch Prepared to Die. Chapter 1247, The Jin Kingdom Monarch Prepared to Die. Clang, 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 clang. A series of clashes sounded throughout the void. The hurricane of madness swept through, and lasted only for a few seconds. After that the gale died down. During a few seconds, Jian Wushuang did his best to strike 136 times. Every blow was at its fullest power, and every strike was accompanied by a soul attack and the power of the stars. The Jin kingdom desperately fended off 135 times, but missed the last strike. It was this last blow that pierced his head. Am I going to die? The Jin kingdom monarch's head was penetrated, and the life core in the skull was instantly crushed. He gradually fell silent. Before he died, he still couldn't help but look at Jian Wushuang with eyes full of resentment and amazement. He had been in the eternal chaotic world for a long time, knowing how dangerous the world was, and that he would end up dead someday. But he never thought of dying in the hands of a universe master, in a small chaotic world, of the eternal chaotic world. Clang! His last consciousness disappeared, and his body slowly fell to the ground. Jian Wushuang stopped his body. He released immense power to shatter his body into dust and fetched his interspatial ring. In addition, Jian Wushuang took the unowned flame deity puppet that stood still on the spot when the Jin Kingdom monarch died. After doing all this, Jian Wushuang let out a heavy sigh of relief. At the edge of the battlefield, experts from 2 camps who witnessed his killing the Jin Kingdom monarch were all stunned. The Green Fire World soldiers were otherwise elated. The remaining universe masters of the Jin Kingdom were all dumbfounded. The Lord died. Jian Wushuang killed the Lord. Oui. The Jin Kingdom universe masters all froze there. But at this moment, someone looked at them coldly. Then Jin Kingdom universe masters were all stunned. They noticed Jian Wushuang's gaze and the killing intent in his eyes. They immediately realized that Jian Wushuang was not going to let them off. Run! A Jin Kingdom universe master escaped, and at the same time, shouted to warn others. In Jian Wushuang's eyes, he detected something bad. Following him, other Jin Kingdom universe masters also fled. They fled in all directions, even dived into under the ground. They had used all their skills to flee. They desperately fled. They knew that if they stayed, they would all be killed by Jian Wushuang. The Jin Kingdom had died in the hands of Jian Wushuang. If they stayed, they would all be slaughtered by Jian Wushuang. Humph! Jian Wushuang dashed at an incredible speed. Although the star's secret skill has stopped, only his power of stars ran out. His spiritual power was not affected. He still had plenty of battle strength. When he sped up, he could easily catch up with the Jin Kingdom universe masters. On the battlefield, Jian Wushuang dashed and rushed. He appeared in front of the Jin Kingdom universe masters and casually attacked them with swordsmanship or soul attack. None of the universe masters had resisted him, including the strongest Long Su King and Red Snow King. A slaughter. But the slaughter only lasted for a short time. During that moment, among the more than 50 remaining Jin Kingdom universe masters, while only around 10 of them escaped, others were reduced to nothing. The woman escaped. Jian Wushuang stood in the void, staring coldly in some direction. The glamorous woman Jiushi who arranged the enduring samsara formation escaped in that direction. Jiushi possessed a remarkable life-saving ability, and she was smarter than other people. When she sensed something wrong, she immediately fled. Jian Wushuang did not chase her. However, although she escaped from Jian Wushuang, she could not escape the battlefield because of the formation in the void around the battlefield. Although some Jin Kingdom soldiers escaped, these people won't come back. Anyway, this battle is over. Jian Wushuang clasped his hands tightly. The Jin Kingdom monarch was killed. A large number of Jin Kingdom experts were slaughtered. Only a dozen of universe masters fled. Today was finally curtains for the battle. It's over. This battle is finally over. Our Green Fire World survived. The Jin Kingdom was gone. The Green Fire World experts all exclaimed. They won the war. The Green Fire World won, and the Jin Kingdom was destroyed. However, even if they won, the remaining Green Fire World experts could not rejoice over the victory. There were no shouts of happiness, just bitter sighs. They won the battle, but they still lost a lot. Too many Green Fire World experts deceased. They paid a too high price. Samsara Temple Master, Void Temple Master, Palace Master Red Lotus. Jian Wushuang repeated their names. And Jian Wushuang looked up at a void in the battle fortress. At the next moment, he dashed out, and then appeared in the battle fortress. In the void above the void, a figure stood there quietly. It was Xian Yi. Master! Jian Wushuang stopped in front of Xian Yi. You came. Xian Yi turned his head and smiled. He still sounded gentle. But Jian Wushuang saw that Xian Yi aged overnight, and his aura became unstable. When the oil ran out, the light went out. Xian Yi's oil had run out. He was having the last breaths of his life. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang quivered and clenched his hands. This is the mountain river map I borrowed from you. Here you are. Xian Yi smiled and handed over the map in his hand. When Jian Wushuang devised the 3 strongest sword principles and began to merge them, Xian Yi had pulled the enduring samsara formation samsara into the mountain river map. He had completely repaired the mountain river map. Chapter 1248 Departure. Chapter 1248 Departure. After handing the mountain river map, before Jian Wushuang could speak, Xian Yi once again took out a token. This is for you too. Xian Yi said. This is? Jian Wushuang looked at the token doubtfully. The token contains a technique you've cultivated, which is the Universal Tao scripture. Xianyi smiled. But now I'll give you the second volume of the Universal Tao scripture. The second volume? Jian Wushuang was dumbfounded. At that time, Xianyi gave him the Universal Tao scripture, and later he knew that the Universal Tao scripture enhanced one's consciousness intensity. This kind of technique was precious even in the eternal chaotic world. Now, Xianyi offered him the second volume of the Universal Tao scripture. The first volume of the Universal Tao scripture improves the consciousness, while the second one enhances the soul. Xianyi smiled. What? Jian Wuxiang was shocked. Improve the soul power. Gu King inside Jian Wushuang was also shocked. If the method of improving the consciousness was considered extremely precious in the eternal chaotic world, then the method of elevating the soul power was a true treasure. After all, the level of the strength of soul was too high. These methods had always been only available to experts like the founder of the Star Bloodline and King Luozhen. It was really a valuable technique. However, now, Xianyi was giving such a technique to Jian Wushuang. I still have a formation too. Xianyi took out a jade slip. It is for the green fire world. A formation? Jian Wushuang looked at Xianyi in doubt. The green fire world is in a very unique position. Although it has already defeated one Jin kingdom, there might be more foreign powers similar to or even stronger than the Jin kingdom. By then, your green fire world will surely become engaged again. Xianyi said. Jian Wushuang fell silent. Since the green fire world came into existence, 3 batches of experts were born. The 4th batch of experts would soon come into being in the future. I give you this formation, and then you need to pass it to Palace Master Yin, who is good at setting up formations. With his knowledge of formation and the formation instructions, he will set it up. Once the formation is formed, it will keep the green fire world safe forever. Xianyi smiled. Jian Wushuang squinted. If Xianyi said the formation could keep the green fire world safe and sound, the formation must be extraordinary. I have been in the green fire world for a long time. I have never done anything for it. Now I'll leave this formation to make up for my neglect. Xianyi smiled. If the green fire world is safe and sound, you will have nothing to worry about. In the future, you can enter and venture into the eternal chaotic world at will. Hearing Xianyi, Jian Wushuang was shocked. In the future, he was bound to enter the eternal chaotic world. Whether it was for Leng Rushuang or for himself, he had to go to the eternal chaotic world. But if the green fire world was in danger, he would worry about it even when he was venturing into the eternal chaotic world. If Xianyi's formation could keep the green fire world safe and sound, Xianyi would help him a lot. Master! Jian Wushuang clasped his hands and looked at Xianyi, his face reddish. He saw Xianyi's condition, but even if Xianyi was in such a condition, he was still thinking for his disciple. He gave him the second volume of the Universal Tao scripture, and the formation to protect his home and family. Xianyi had been helping him all the time. However, Xianyi never asked for anything in return. He had never. Even at this moment, he did not have any last wish. This kindness. Flop. Jian Wushuang knelt down. I will always remember your kindness. Jian Wushuang's voice quavered as he respectfully kowtowed to Xianyi. Xianyi just watched him kowtow 3 times. He slowly waved. Get up. Jian Wushuang got up. I've received 4 disciples. You're the most talented, and I anticipate your future the most. I hope to see you grow. By now I've done everything I can. In the next years, you can only rely on yourself. Work hard, maybe one day, you and me will see each other again. Xianyi's voice still sounded calm, his face still smiling. When his voice died down completely, his body slowly became transparent. His figure was getting more and more transparent, and eventually disappeared completely. Jian Wushuang stood there with his hands clenched. As Xianyi's body gradually disappeared, he was sick at heart. Jian Wushuang, you don't have to be sad. If I didn't guess wrong, your master has always existed in this special way. He's not a doppelganger or a fragment of consciousness, but an inexplicable matter. Gu Qing's voice rang in Jian Wushuang's ears. He has always existed in this state, and he must have his own reason. Although he has disappeared now, it does not mean that he really died. As he said, maybe one day, you two will meet each other again. I see. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He knew that his master's words were meaningful. Master had great knowledge of weapon refining, formation, and elixirs. His knowledge didn't belong in the green fire world. He must come from outside the green fire world. He must come from somewhere extraordinary. But over the years, he has always existed in the green fire world, in an incomparably unique state. He must have his reason. I just can't find out. He educated me and 3 senior brothers, but never asked for anything from us. Even before he disappeared, he never asked me anything. Jian Wushuang murmured and muttered as he shook his head. His master had always been mysterious. From the moment Xianyi received Jian Wushuang as his disciple, Xianyi had always been mysterious. Even when he disappeared, Jian Wushuang still found him mysterious. Because from the beginning to the end, Jian Wushuang never knew Xianyi's background and purpose. Perhaps when I am strong enough to be at the master's level, I will know. Strength. Standing in the front of the void where Xianyi disappeared, Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with excitement. Chapter 1249, Back in Chiliwen Valley. Chapter 1249, Back in Chiliwen Valley. Within a towering palace, a row of thrones stood. All the remaining Green Fire World Palace Masters gathered here. At that time, because of the Nirvana elixirs, the Green Fire World brought forth more than 20 Palace Masters. Nevertheless, after the previous battle, only 7 people survived. Naturally, Jian Wushuang led the rest 7 Palace Masters. Palace Master Yin, my teacher gave me a formation, and I want to know that if you can arrange it. Jian Wushuang handed the jade slip containing the formation to Palace Master Yin and said, my teacher said, once this formation is arranged, our green fire world will be safe and sound. Upon hearing this, Palace Master Yun's eyes flashed with excitement, and then, he carefully studied the formation. Tang Emperor. Jian Wushuang turned to Tang Emperor beside him. The battle between our green fire world and the Jing Kingdom has ended. The remaining Dao Masters can return home. In addition, a large number of experts have fallen. This is bound to influence the forces in our world, especially the Samsara Temples and Void Temples force. Samsara Temple Master and Void Temple Master fought to the death. We won't win the war without them. Although they were gone, we have to take care of their soldiers. And experts that decreased during the war, we won't let them die in vain. I hope you can arrange them for me. Yes, I will. Tang Emperor nodded slightly. Father. Jian Wushuang looked to Jian Nantian again. In this battle, some of the Jing Kingdom experts escaped, but they can't escape from this battlefield. They must hide in this battlefield. The Jing Kingdom has been destroyed. They won't survive long. I want you and other palace masters to find them and kill them for me. If we don't remove them sooner or later, they will be a big trouble for our green fire world. Yes, I will. Jian Nantian accepted the mission. At this time, Palace Master Yin raised his head again, and his eyes appeared vicious. Wushuang Palace Master, I've studied the formation you gave me. Although it is very difficult and cumbersome, given adequate time and sufficient resources, I guarantee I'll arrange this formation. Once it was arranged, indeed, as Master Xianyi said, our green fire world will be safe and sound. Even forces 10 times stronger than the Jing Kingdom can't break into this battlefield again. Palace Master Yin said excitedly. Great. Hearing Palace Master Yin, other Palace Masters all became pleasantly surprised. Jian Wushuang faintly smiled. Palace Master Yin, then I will trouble you to arrange the formation. If you need material resources, you can fetch them in the Firepoint Exchange office. If the resources run out, just inform me. Jian Wushuang killed the Jing Kingdom monarch and a lot of Jing Kingdom experts. Thus, he received countless treasure resources. Although he had put most of the treasures in Firepoint Exchange office, he kept some rare treasures that were not helpful for Green Fire World to himself. Thus, he had plenty of rare treasures in his hands. No problem, you'll see. Palace Master Yin smiled confidently. The war ended, everything quieted down. Jian Wushuang and several palace masters discussed and arranged other affairs. Then Jian Wushuang headed to the vast battlefield. He was heading to Chilly Wind Valley. Back then when he was hunted by Red Snow King and others, Jian Wushuang's first original body was forced to die here. Now Jian Wushuang visited it again. This Chilly Wind Valley is quite weird. There must be treasures that are extremely cold underneath. Unfortunately, I was too weak to enter the bottom of the valley. Now I've improved, I might as well have a try. Looking at the unfathomable huge pit in front of him, Jian Wushuang was expectant. Of course, although he was quite confident about his current strength, Jian Wushuang remained careful. He first waited quietly outside the sinkhole. Soon, boom, the land shook. It's coming. Jian Wushuang's face lit up. As the shake grew stronger and stronger, a horrifying blood-cold wind blew fiercely. It was a wind that could easily smash universe masters. He used to avoid it, but now, even when the blood-cold wind was in full swing, he still stepped forward and entered within its range. Boom! The strong breeze washed over Jian Wushuang with terrifying force. Frowning, Jian Wushuang endured the fierce gale. He was still on his feet when the blood-cold wind died down. I was right. My current body, coupled with the blood-killing plate armor's defense, allowed me to withstand the blood-cold wind. Jian Wushuang grinned. He had combined the 3 strongest sword principles and obtained the immortal divine body, which was far more mighty than a normal universe master's. He had cultivated a protective secret skill golden image. He was at the second stage of the secret skill, and thus acquired powerful defensive skills. Moreover, he had the blood-killing plate armor that had weakened the impact of the blood-cold wind by more than 9/10. These 3 means combined to make his defensive ability to surge. His defensive power was far stronger than that of ordinary universe gods. Thus he was able to resist the blood-cold wind. Knowing that the blood-cold wind could not pose a threat to him, Jian Wushuang immediately swept toward the bottom of the Chilly Wind Valley. All the way down he contained his speed, but after a short while, he was already more than 100,000 miles deep under the ground. It's been 100,000 miles, but I still can't see the end of the valley. The Chilly Wind Valley is really deep enough. Jian Wushuang thought to himself. But at this time, his soul power that had been released before suddenly found something floating below. It was a gold gourd. Seeing the gold gourd, Jian Wushuang's face lit up. At the next moment, his figure appeared in front of the gold gourd and stretched to seize it. It's really my blaze quicksand gourd. Jian Wushuang rejoiced over his founding. The moment he held it in his hands, he sensed something in his heart. This was the blaze quicksand gourd that he lost in this Chilly Wind Valley. Although he lost it, he did not cancel his ownership on the blaze quicksand gourd. Thus, when he held it, Jian Wushuang felt something. I've found my blaze quicksand gourd. If I go deeper into the bottom of this Chilly Wind Valley. Jian Wushuang squinted to scrutinize the bottom of the valley that seemed endless and frowned. The bottom of the valley scared him. As he got closer and closer to the bottom, the horror grew stronger and stronger. Chapter 1250, The Holy Prefecture. Chapter 1250, The Holy Prefecture. Since the Chilly Wind Valley is full of dangers, the blood-cold wind is definitely not the only one danger within. I have integrated 3 strongest sword principles and become a universe master. Furthermore, my 2 original bodies have become a whole as well. So if I die here again, I cannot reborn anymore. Forget it. Jian Wushuang sighed slightly. He gave up the idea of going deep into the Chilly Wind Valley and flew out of it. Right at this moment, a flash of red light shone at the bottom of the Chilly Wind Valley. It was extremely chilling, and after a short while, it disappeared again. After regaining the blaze quicksand gourd, Jian Wushuang returned to the battle fortress immediately. His journey seemed smooth, but it took him nearly 10 years in fact. During this period, the war in the Green Fire world had nearly come to the end. Although the Green Fire world had been thrown into turmoil due to the great loss of its experts, it calmed down under the suppression of Tang Emperor and the other palace masters. 12 years after the final war, Palace Master Yin came to Jian Wushuang. Palace Master Wushuang, we have set up that formation. Palace Master Yin said. Finished? So fast. Jian Wushuang's expression changed slightly. Although it's complicated, Master Xian, he has left the clear steps of setting it up in the token. As for the necessary sources, we can get what we want at the Fire Point Exchange office. Besides, the foundation of the former formation still exists, so it's not that difficult for us to set it up again. Palace Master Yin said smilingly. With the protection of this formation, our green fire world finally can live in a peaceful life again. Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Palace Master Wushuang, there's one more thing. Palace Master Yin added. Jian Wushuang looked at Palace Master Yin. After the formation was set up, I found that there's someone who has been trying to recover the tunnel connecting our world and the outside world. This person's skills are very brilliant. If I guess correctly, that person should be the woman who activated the enduring samsara formation before. Palace Master Yin said seriously. Among the remaining experts of the Jin Kingdom, only she could have such a capability on formations. That woman. Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly turned grim. They were referring to Jiushi, of course. At the final war, she escaped while noticing the situation was unfavorable. Palace Master Yin, since you could feel that she is trying to recover the portal, I guess you know her location. Jian Wushuang said. Of course. That's why I came here to inform you of her location. Palace Master Yin said with a smile. Great. Jian Wushuang clasped his hands and asked. Then tell me please. After knowing Jiushi's current location, Jian Wushuang set off at once. A cold and elegant woman, Jiushi, stood in a secluded void above the huge battlefield, with some formation flags floating in front of her. These flags were giving off a formidable aura. Obviously, Jiushi was setting up a formation. To be precise, she was destroying a formation. She was trying to destroy the huge formation that the Green Fire World's experts had set up around the battlefield. Because it was connected with the space storm around this battlefield. So she paid a huge price, and then succeeded in allowing the army of the Jin Kingdom to intrude into the formation. Now, it was impossible for her to destroy it again on her own. However, she did not plan to totally destroy it. She wished to destroy a small part of it, so that it could allow her to send a message out. She enjoyed some reputation in her sect, so only if she could send a message to the experts of her sect, someone would come and save her. Damn, I'm almost made it. But the Green Fire World suddenly changed another formation, which was several times more complicated than before. Jiushi gritted her teeth, and her facial expression changed. When she came to this battlefield with the monarch of the Jin Kingdom, she had never expected the monarch to die here. Therefore, she had not prepared any route of retreat for herself. Now, she was trapped in this battlefield, and it was really difficult for her to contact with the outside world. Right at this moment. Whoosh! An invisible power swept across this void. Jiushi perceived that, and turned around as soon as possible. She saw a young figure showing up behind her. Jian Wushuang. Jiushi turned pale with fright. How is this possible? How could you find me? A possibility came to her mind at once. Her located had been presumably figured out by him, while she was destroying the formation. Looking at the elegant woman who had gotten into a panic, Jian Wushuang lifted his hands slowly. An immense amount of power had already gathered in his hand. No, Jian Wushuang, you cannot kill me. Jiushi screamed right now. She knew Jian Wushuang's strength clearly. Although she had some life-saving skills, they simply did not work at all when she was facing experts like Jian Wushuang. Cannot kill you? Give me a reason. Jian Wushuang said in a cold voice, and the power continued gathering in his hand. I am a core disciple of the Holy Prefecture, and my teacher is one of the 4 mansion masters. I also have a senior brother, Universe God Qing Yang, who is the first genius of the Holy Prefecture. Jiushi screamed continuously. Besides, each core disciple of the Holy Prefecture has learned a secret skill that is similar to curse. If you kill me, you will be cursed by me. And someday, Any core disciple or high-level experts of the Holy Prefecture can recognize that you have killed an important member of their sect at first glance. They surely will try their best to revenge against you. Oh. Jian Wushuang's eyebrow lifted and he asked, "Is there any such secret skill in the eternal chaotic world?" "Yes." Gu King nodded his heart. "Jian Wushuang." Jiushi looked at him again. "I know you are a genius and have great potential. You definitely will travel around the eternal chaotic world. Where my sect is one of the overlords on the first territory, you will set foot on. If you kill me, don't expect that you will be safe there. Killing me will not do any good to you. Instead, it will be extremely difficult for you to venture into the eternal chaotic world. If you let me go, I promise I will introduce you to join the Holy Prefecture. That will be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you." "Is that so?" Jian Wushuang smiled coldly, and the power he had gathered burst forth. A flash of flowing light shot toward the woman instantly. "You?" Jioshi's eyes were wide with disbelief. She had explained everything to Jian Wushuang so clearly, but the latter still struck her. "If I die, you won't be able to live a good life." Jiushi shouted angrily when she knew she would die. She triggered the secret skill she mentioned earlier, and a little bit power swarmed into Jian Wushuang's body. Chapter 1251, Leaving the Green Fire World. Chapter 1251, Leaving the Green Fire World. The force was incredibly odd and unique, and Jian Wushuang was unable to stop it from entering into his body. Is this the curse that she spoke of? Jian Wushuang could feel the odd force brooding inside himself as he asked, "Gu King, can you get rid of this curse?" "No, I can't." Gu King shook his head. "This level of curse needs to be dispelled by one that is highly skilled. It requires expertise above that of a universe god. If there's no one helping you dispelling it, you can only let it dissipate by itself. Considering that woman's resentment, it'll take at least hundreds of thousands of years for it to fade away." Hundreds of thousands of years. Jian Wushuang was dumbfounded. He did not want to stay in the green fire world for another hundreds of thousands of years, to wait for the curse to dissipate before heading towards the eternal chaotic world. "Jian Wushuang, you shouldn't kill her. You could have suppressed her with your blood mountain sword first, and kill her when you grow stronger, and don't need to fear the Holy Prefecture behind her," said Gu King. "To wait till that moment?" Jian Wushuang shook his head. "How can the soul of the Sunrise Sword Emperor rest in peace if she does not die?" Gu King was rendered speechless. Now, Master's ritual formation has fallen on this battlefield, and the woman from the Holy Prefecture has also been killed. Although a few universe masters from the Jin Kingdom managed to survive, they'll not be able to pose any threat to us. My green fire world will have a peace of mind, and it's time for me to head off to the eternal chaotic world, Jian Wushuang muttered. With these words, Jian Wushuang used his fastest speed to return to Green Fire Palace. The moment he arrived at Green Fire Palace, he immediately mustered the other palace masters and told them his decision. Knowing that Jian Wushuang was preparing to head towards the eternal chaotic world, palace masters felt surprised, but this thing was also within their expectations. After all, Jian Wushuang was still so young, his potential was still far beyond imaginable. If he continued to stay within the Green Fire world, it would waste his talent. Besides, the Green Fire world was in peace now. Jian Wushuang did not have to stay here. 15 years after the end of the ultimate battle, numerous people gathers on the vast battlefield again to see Jian Wushuang off. Among them, there were Jian Wushuang's parents, his friends Wang Yuan, Yang Zishuan and Su Rou, and many palace masters such as Tang Emperor, Palace Master Yin, Xueling Tian and Emperor Shao. Many holy masters of the Green Fire Palace also came here. Father, mother. Jian Wushuang looked at his parents. Shuanger, in my whole life, my proudest moment is to have you as my son. Jian Nantian smiled weakly at Jian Wushuang, while feeling an immense sense of pride. His son was publicly recognized, and known as the leader of the Green Fire Palace, and the one who had saved everyone during the ultimate battle. He was also the most talented youth in the history of the Green Fire world. Shuanger, please be very careful. Ji Wuming looked warmly upon Jian Wushuang. Yes, I know. Jian Wushuang smiled lightly. Tang Emperor. Jian Wushuang stood before Tang Emperor again and handed over a token to him. This token contains 3 sets of powerful sword skills. I've spent a long time refining and perfecting it. I want to hand it over to you now, in case of any emergency. Tang Emperor accepted the token and nodded heavily. Jian Wushuang, this road to inverse cultivation will not be easy. You have to be careful with your every step. You must not follow in Xiaoqing's footsteps. Eldest senior brother. Jian Wushuang came to Shuelingtian. Master may have gone, but he put a lot of effort into creating the ancient sect. Please take care of the ancient sect after I leave. Don't worry. The ancient sect will be all right with me around. Xiaolingtian laughed. Uncle Xiao. Jian Wushuang came to Emperor Xiao. I'll definitely bring Shuanger back from the eternal chaotic world. All right, be careful. Emperor Xiao nodded slightly while beaming with confidence towards Jian Wushuang. Lastly, Jian Wushuang came to his 3 good brothers. Haha, the 3 of you. Jian Wushuang looked at them. Third brother. Wang Yuan, Yang Zishuan and Su Rou looked at Jian Wushuang, feeling a little down. That's enough. We'll meet again. Soon. I'll be back here drinking with all of you. Jian Wushuang laughed. Of course. Wang Yuan, Yang Zishuan, Su Rou nodded their heads. Sadness was a natural part of a farewell. Fortunately, Jian Wushuang had no regret. Everyone goodbye. The Green Fire World goodbye. Jian Wushuang cupped his hands in front of himself to bid farewell to everyone, before turning around to leave for the faraway void. Over there, Palace Master Yin had already made a portal for Jian Wushuang to access the outer world. Under the gaze of everyone, he entered the portal and soon disappeared. Underneath the dark sky, a portal appeared out of nothing, and a figure flew out of the portal rapidly. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang managed to stop himself, looking quite haggard. After he stabilized himself, he turned to look back. Wow! Is this the space-time storm that wraps up my Green Fire world and the huge battlefield? Jian Wushuang looked into the distance and saw the completely distorted space-time. That distorted space-time was extremely big and seemed boundless. Although he was far away from it now, the sight still filled him with awe. A space-time storm in the eternal chaotic world indicated a disaster. Such a huge space-time storm was no doubt a catastrophe. However, it was also because of the dreadful space-time storm. No one else dared to get close to this place, and the Green Fire world could occupy the battlefield for all this time. If the experts of the Jin Kingdom had never been drawn into this space-time storm by accident, they would have never discovered the battlefield. In a sense, this space-time storm is like a protective shield to my Green Fire world. So actually my Green Fire world should be thankful for its existence. Jian Wushuang laughed weakly. Jian Wushuang, you have to remember the location of this space-time storm clearly. If there's nothing else, we'll set off, said Gu King. All right. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly as he waved his hand to summon a spaceship, which appeared out of nowhere. To travel in the eternal chaotic world, one could not simply rely on his or her legs. Taking a spaceship is the best way of getting round in this world. The spaceship Jian Wushuang summoned was originally from Dao Yuanzi. He sat on the spaceship and sped away excitedly. The eternal chaotic world, I am coming. Chapter 1252, The Fifth Step. Chapter 1252, The Fifth Step. Whoosh! An ancient spaceship whisked across the dark void, without a clue of its actual speed, but definitely faster than any of the universe god. Inside this spaceship, Jian Wushuang simply sat cross-legged. In front of him, a gray stone gem levitated in front of him. Ever since his announcement on leaving Green Fire World, Tang Emperor has given this gray stone gem to him. As for this gray stone gem, it was not distant to Jian Wushuang, but in fact very familiar. Today, the reason why he is able to walk the path of cultivators was in fact due to this gray stone gem, which contained the heavenly creation skill of cultivation method. Previously, with only 2 of the gray stone gem, Jian Wushuang's cultivation strength reached to only the fourth step. This was in defiance with the natural order, which was to attain the level of Eternal Supremo. As of now, the fourth step was akin to the level of Tao Master among cultivators. Now levitating right in front of Jian Wushuang, the gray stone gem was the third one, which contained the fifth step to cultivate the heavenly creation skill against natural order. With the fourth step against natural order being so excellent, what then encompassed the fifth step? Holding on to a glimpse of hope, Jian Wushuang's soul powers instantaneously seeped into the gray stone gem and began browsing the next heavenly creation skill for cultivation strength. Seemingly momentarily, Jian Wushuang finished his reading. Upon completion, he opened his eyes, but his expression turned very solemn. The fifth step, it is actually an inverse cultivation test. Jian Wushuang frowned deeply. He originally believed that the fifth step would be the same as the former, which would encompass him with special abilities. Incredulously, the fifth step against natural order was an arduous 1,000-year cultivation. For this inverse cultivation, it would be the toughest yet necessary in overcoming this hurdle. Inverse cultivation disaster. Jian Wushuang clenched his teeth tightly. Gu King that was inside of Jian Wushuang's body similarly browsed the information of that gray stone gem. After a brief moment of silence, Gu King spoke. This step, I did previously guess this. Actually, not only the inverse cultivation, all the cultivators in the world would have to go through this hurdle when they reach the level of a universe god. I have already told you previously, becoming a universe master only means you are immortal, but it has not transformed your divine power. To transform your divine power and become a universe god, you will have to suffer from this disaster and get divine baptism. Unfortunately, overcoming the disaster is not an easy one. Even in the eternal chaotic world, it has always been many of the cultivators' nightmare. Among 100 universe master, it is almost impossible to have one to survive from it, but you have to pass this hurdle in order to become a universe god. It is inescapable. Frankly speaking, this disaster is simply a test to divide the strong and the weak. Overcoming it meant becoming a warrior. Failing or constantly being afraid to challenge, you end up being a weakling for the rest of your life. Is that so? Jian Wushuang realized in shock. He knew previously that being a universe master was only taking half a step, but he did not know how exactly to surpass the other half of it. Now he understands that is to pass the disaster. Only by overcoming the hurdle can he be a true universe god. Even an ordinary cultivator would have to pass the disaster to become a universe god. Not to mention the inverse cultivation. Inverse cultivation against natural order is obviously a lot more dangerous than the ordinary cultivation. I once saw a universe master making a breakthrough. During the process, the level of difficulty was definitely 100 times tougher than what an ordinary cultivator would have gone through. Gu King said. What? Jian Wushuang was taken aback. Exactly by 100 times. That disaster was incomparably scary, manifesting fear in many of the cultivators, viewed as an absolute nightmare. Yet, inverse cultivation disaster is even more scary by 100 times. Even an ordinary cultivator would have to pass the disaster to become a universe god, not to mention the inverse cultivation. Inverse cultivation against natural order is obviously a lot more dangerous than the ordinary cultivation. I once saw a universe master making a breakthrough. During the process, the level of difficulty was definitely 100 times tougher than what an ordinary cultivator would have gone through. Gu King said. Emperor Qing? Jian Wushuang internally shaken. He has heard of Emperor Qing from Tang Emperor. Indeed, at that time, Tang Emperor did say that Emperor Qing died during inverse cultivation. Now it seemed that Emperor Qing's death, at that time, was probably caused by the inverse cultivation disaster. When they separated previously, Tang Emperor had specifically warned him that it would be a difficult journey towards inverse cultivation, and that he should be very careful. Apparently, this was what the Tang Emperor was worried about, the inverse cultivation disaster. The cultivate technique of the inverse cultivation initially had belonged to the Tang Emperor, who then teached it to Emperor Qing. After the death of Emperor Qing, there remained only 2 of the gray stone gems, and the third one had always been on Tang Emperor all along, even though he denied. If it wasn't for me who wanted to explore the eternal chaotic world, I am afraid he still would not have given to me that third gray stone gem willingly. He must have been worried that I would follow into the footsteps of Emperor Qing. Jian Wushuang wore a grave expression, as he now understood what Tang Emperor was worried about. Tang Emperor was simply worried about his safety, which was why he did not give the third gray stone gem to him before. Jian Wushuang, this path of inverse cultivation is full of thistles and thorns. The eternal chaotic world, massively boundless, has breed countless inverse cultivators across endless time, but those who pass it are extremely rare. Once this hurdle is passed, though, those victors become extraordinary. I hope that you can be extraordinary too, instead of being like the majority of the inverse cultivators who died in this path. Gu King said. With a stern expression, Jian Wushuang asked, Gu King, do you know how many tests the inverse cultivation disaster will have? To be a universe god, there is a total of 3 levels. Therefore, the god disaster should also have 3 tests. Should you fail any one of the tests, you will be completely destroyed. Gu King answered gravely. Besides, your tests will not be as easy as the typical inverse cultivation tests. You have the bloodline of an ancient god, as well as the highest level of imperial bloodline, which means that you may have to go through the ancient god disaster all at once. Upon those words, Jian Wushuang's heart sank. He felt the burden inside him becoming increasingly heavier. Soon enough, he calmed himself down. The inverse cultivation disaster and the ancient god disaster, either of them are horrible. Of course, a combination of 2 must definitely be more dangerous. Every single level could easily destroy me. Even so, there is still a chance for me to survive, and not just die. If I were to fear the disasters in front of me, that would mean that I am extinguishing that very last strand of hope. I, Jian Wushuang, would never do such a silly thing. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly, but his eyes gleamed with determination. Chapter 1253, The Dayu World, the Snow Kingdom. Chapter 1253, The Dayu World, the Snow Kingdom. Gu King, around when would that inverse cultivation disaster arrive? Jian Wushuang asked. If it were for normal cultivators who have just managed to attain the level of Universe Master, it will likely take a long time for the disaster to strike. Given that you are an inverse cultivator, I am not sure exactly when then it will strike, but when it does, you will definitely feel it. Since you do not sense anything right now, this means that there is still some time before it strikes. Of course, even so, you can start your preparation for the inverse cultivation now. Gu King commented. Okay, I got it. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. Soon enough, Jian Wushuang continued to probe Gu King with more questions regarding the god disaster and inverse cultivation disaster, while they hurried on their journey. He had no choice but to pay attention, with the inverse cultivation disaster being one of the greatest hurdles to pass. It was not in his place to turn away from it. Time flies. 3 years passed in a blink of an eye. The spaceship traveled across the boundless and endless void for a total of 3 years. At last, on this day, Jian Wushuang's strength of soul sees a floating vast land at a far distance. That piece of vast land seemed to extend endlessly. In comparison with the green fire world, it was unsure how far the land expanded. Have we finally arrived at the place where cultivators reside in? Jian Wushuang stared at the distant land, secretly amazed inside. One have to acknowledge that he spent a good 3 years in the spaceship to rush down to the place, even with the incredulous speed of the spaceship. Without the spaceship, it would take him no lesser than a few hundred years to rush here by feet. Upon approaching the vast land, Jian Wushuang has already placed the spaceship back into the interspatial ring before advancing onto the floating land. Without long, a city on the land appeared. The city was heavily guarded by a magical force field. Unable to trespass with his powers, Jian Wushuang can only enter through the city gate. When he arrived at the gate, he found several long queues waiting to enter the city. Each queue had at least thousands of people waiting in line. There are so many people, and they are all so powerful. Jian Wushuang's strength of soul has since curled out and detect all of those people's aura clearly. Most of the people in line were at the level of a holy master, and the amount of those who were universe masters were comparable. As for those in line who were Dao masters, they were the least, only several of them. Those beneath the level of a Dao master were in fact none. Of course, even so, you can start your preparation for the inverse cultivation now. Gu King commented. Is that so? Jian Wushuang realized. Just wait in line. The eternal chaotic world pay more attention to rankings in terms of power. If you were a powerful universe god, perhaps you would not need to follow the rules of this city, but you are only a mere universe master as of now. Gu King advised. Jian Wushuang shrugged. Guess he had no choice but to simply wait in line. The eternal chaotic world's efficiency was extremely high. In less than an hour, it was soon Jian Wushuang's turn. 1 chaos gem to enter the city, the city guard said coldly. 1 chaos gem? Jian Wushuang startled. In Greenfire World, the value of a chaos gem was nearly all a rank 3 Dao master had owned. Here, it was just a fee to enter the city. That sure is expensive. There must be at least 10,000 people entering the city every day. A chaos gem for a person, that would be 10,000 chaos gem in a day. The master of the city sure is evil enough. Jian Wushuang sighed before giving the city guard a chaos gem to enter the gate. Inside of the city, the streets were bustling with people, filled with a lively atmosphere. Just like what Gu King has said, most of the city people were holy masters. In terms of ranking, he almost couldn't find any Dao master. As for universe gods, in the words of Gu King, even in the normal realm, the universe god is already the highest ranking warrior, which was already rare to be seen. As such, it would also be rare here. This city was actually similar to the one inside Greenfire World. They both had a variety of shops, except the scale for those here was obviously bigger. Jian Wushuang aimlessly walked around the city for a while, and entered some of the shops. The treasures sold in the shops were apparently of a higher grade, compared to those in Greenfire World. After half a day, Jian Wushuang sat inside a bar. He held up his wine glass, and thoughtlessly sipped on the wine. After just 2 sips he began to frown. The wine in the eternal chaotic world is incomparable to that of my hometown. Jian Wushuang shook his head before turning to a waitress at the side and asked, Does your house bar sell information? Of course. The waitress, who was at the level of a holy master, smiled. Not sure what kind of information do you need, sir? I want information about this realm, as detailed as possible. Best if the information includes the forces of the parties here. And who are the stronger ones to take note of? Jian Wushuang answered. The most detailed information we do have, but the price is rather expensive. It would take 500 chaos gems. Eyes in the shape of crescent moons, the waitress smiled. A usual holy master would have owned a holy of around 20 chaos gems. Even a universe master would typically have several hundred gems. Those who actually can give out 500 chaos gems were extremely rare. Here's 500 chaos gems, you can count them. Jian Wushuang tossed an interspatial ring over. The waitress's eyes lit up. After going over them carefully for a bit, she reverently said, Please wait a minute, sir. Not long after, the waitress offered Jian Wushuang the most detailed information about the city in no time. While continuing to drink, Jian Wushuang's leafed through the document. The Du world belongs to Snow Kingdom? Jian Wushuang let out an expression filled with confusion. At this moment Gu King spoke again. Jian Wushuang, the structure of the eternal chaotic world overall can be classified into 4 levels. The first level, which is also the lowest, are the countless eternal world, just like the Greenfire World which you have lived in. It is just that its geographical location is a little unique, that's all. The second level would be the realm domain. The realm domain refers to an extensive field which exists numerous eternal worlds with their land-gathering people, who come from all over the world. Generally speaking, every realm domain is controlled by one strong warrior, or by a large force. The third level would then be the God Kingdom. The God Kingdom is made up of hundreds of the realm domains. A God Kingdom, by itself, is extremely massive, yet in the vast eternal chaotic world, there still exists many of them. Chapter 1254. One King and Three Hegemons. Chapter 1254. One King and Three Hegemons. Upon hearing what the Gu King had said, Jian Wushuang was shocked. He had just left the green fire world, and in his eyes, a domain consisting of countless places as large as eternal world was indeed very vast. However, a kingdom was 1,000 times bigger than a domain. Moreover, there were many kingdoms in the eternal chaotic world. It's so vast. The eternal chaotic world is vast beyond my imagination, Jian Wushuang said in amazement. Suddenly, he recalled something and asked, the kingdoms are just of level 3. What about the places of level 4? How vast could a place at level 4 be? Level 4 is the core of the eternal chaotic world, and also the 10 cultivation sanctuaries with the most experts, Gu King answered. Cultivation sanctuary? 10. Jian Wushuang's eyes widened. There are 10 cultivation sanctuaries in the eternal chaotic world, each of them covering a small area, and no larger than a kingdom. However, they are the core places of the eternal chaotic world. Cultivating there will be more efficient than in other places, so they attract the most experts. Many geniuses from the kingdoms, domains, and even the eternal world all have gone there to cultivate. Jian Wushuang, you are the core member of the star bloodline. It is in one of the cultivation sanctuaries as well, Gu King answered. Star bloodline is in one of the cultivation sanctuaries as well? Jian Wushuang was surprised. Besides that, the star bloodline is the main force in that cultivation sanctuary, and is famous in the whole eternal chaotic world. Gu King answered, you have just come out of the green fire world, and the best choice for you is to go to where the star bloodline is now. There, you can rely on their resources and become stronger, but we're so far away from that place. How far? Jian Wushuang immediately asked. I have no idea. Gu King shook his head. When I adventured in the eternal chaotic world with King Luozhen, I had visited many kingdoms, but I never heard of the Snow Kingdom, so I'm sure this kingdom is not near the 10 cultivation sanctuaries, and might be somewhere in the corner. Therefore, if we set off from such a place to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries, it will take us a rather long time. Not only that, there are a lot of dangerous places in the void outside the kingdoms, and there are even countless bandits. With your current strength, it is not realistic for you to go to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries now. So I think you should stay in the Diyu region to improve your power at first, and when you've passed the first inverse cultivation test, and become a universe god in the first heaven, you can set off. I see. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He also knew that he should not hurry now. With his current strength, it was indeed impossible for him to make it to the cultivation sanctuaries all by himself. He had better set off after he had made some breakthrough in his power. Jian Wushuang continued reading the information on the Diyu region. Though the region was only a normal domain of the Snow Kingdom, it was still vast with many experts there, and most of those experts were gathered on the land that Jian Wushuang was standing on. Among all the sects in the region, there were 4 dominating forces. They were the Diyu Palace, the Scarlet Island, the Golden Sun Sect, and the Holy Prefecture. Those 4 forces were addressed as One King and Three Hegemons. One King referred to the Diyu Palace, the local tyrant of the region. As the name suggested, the Diyu Palace was the ruler of the Diyu region. The master of that palace was recognized by the Snow Kingdom, and at the same time, he was also the number 1 expert in the region, and one of the 3 universe gods in the 3rd heaven. The 3 hegemons referred to the Scarlet Island, the Golden Sun Sect, and the Holy Prefecture. They were powerful, and their forces were deep-rooted in that region. Jiushi, who Jian Wushuang had killed in the Green Fire World, was a core disciple of the Holy Prefecture, and her grievance had been on Jian Wushuang since then. If Jian Wushuang met another core disciple of the Holy Prefecture, that person would know that Jian Wushuang had killed one of his companions. The Holy Prefecture is really powerful. Jian Wushuang praised inwardly, while reading the information on the Holy Prefecture. There were 4 mansion masters in the Holy Prefecture, and they were all the universe gods in the second heaven. Jiuxi's master was among them. There were also more than 20 universe gods of the first heaven in the prefecture, and one of them had even caught Jian Wushuang's attention. That person was universe god Qing Yang. He was the number 1 genius of the prefecture, and he was said to have cultivated for less than 10,000 years before he passed the god test to become a universe god in the first heaven. He was also rumored to have almost reached the peak of that realm. Before her death, that woman had said that her master was a mansion master of the Holy Prefecture, and her senior brother was the number 1 genius, universe god Qing Yang. I didn't pay much attention to her words at that time, but now it seems that I'm in big trouble. Jian Wushuang sighed. Although he was as powerful as the universe god in the first heaven, there were 3 kinds of universe gods: elementary, advanced, and peak. At best, he could battle an advanced universe god. By displaying a secret skill, he could make himself as powerful as a universe god in the peak of the first heaven. Therefore, there were some people in the Holy Prefecture who were still able to kill him. As for that universe god Qing Yang, Jian Wushuang was no match for him. It seems that I have to be careful from this moment on. If I'm targeted by Holy Prefecture, I'll be killed. Jian Wushuang murmured. He then continued reading the information on the Golden Sun sect. The Golden Sun sect is even more powerful than the Holy Prefecture. Jian Wushuang gasped inwardly in admiration. There were more than 30 universe gods in the Golden Sun sect, and the master of the sect was said to be a universe god at the peak of the second heaven. There were also countless experts in the sect. Suddenly, Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed when he glanced at the information on an expert of the Golden Sun sect. The information read, "The monarch of the Jin Kingdom, Jin Feng." He had killed this person in the Green Fire world, and he never thought that this person would be the monarch of the Jin Kingdom, as well as an expert of the Golden Sun sect. According to the information, Jian Wushuang also learned that the monarch had a good relationship with the sect master, and was said to be the master's brother. Chapter 1255, Invincible Universe Master. Chapter 1255, Invincible Universe Master. After Jian Wushuang read the information on the monarch of the Gold Kingdom, his expression became very strange. God, it turns out that I not only provoked the Holy Prefecture, but also provoked Golden Sun sect. It is rumored that the monarch of the Gold Kingdom is the younger brother of the Lord of Golden Sun sect. Even if the rumor is false, it means that they have a good relationship. If the Lord of Golden Sun sect knows that I killed the monarch of the Gold Kingdom, he will definitely try to kill me. Jian Wushuang sighed anxiously. He had killed the monarch of the Gold Kingdom in the Green Fire world, where there were formations isolating them from the outside world. Before the monarch died, he could never pass on the message of who killed him. So as long as Jian Wushuang keep that confidential, the Golden Sun sect would not know. Although the chances are small, I'd better watch out for the Golden Sun sect, Jian Wushuang reminded himself. The best way to build a firm foothold in the Diyu world is to join a big force. The Diyu Palace is highly regarded, and life will be too easy and comfortable if I join it, which isn't what I want, he secretly reflected. The 3 hegemons often fight against each other, and occasionally even wars will break out. They are worthy of me to join. However, in the 3 hegemons, Holy Prefecture and Golden Sun sect both have grudges with me, so I could only join the last hegemon, the Scarlet Island. The Scarlet Island was also one of the hegemons in the Diyu world, and its overall strength was no worse than that of the Golden Sun sect. In the past few years, within the Diyu world, Scarlet Island and the Golden Sun sect were constantly embroiled in the fiercest battles. You come here. Jian Wushuang waved at a tavern attendant not far away. What can I do for you, Your Excellency? The attendant came to him and asked respectfully. Is there any way for me to join the Scarlet Island? Jian Wushuang asked. Join the Scarlet Island? The attendant smiled. Your Excellency, The three hegemons in the DU world have been fighting all year round, and a great number of experts have died. Naturally, they need a lot of experts to supplement the loss, so it's not hard to join them. Strong celestial masters can join easily. As for universe masters, it's much easier. However, if you want to master certain powers in the three hegemons, the threshold will be higher. With your strength, it is easy for you to join the Scarlet Island, Your Excellency, the attendant added and smiled. He had already found that Jian Wushuang was a universe master. That was why he acted with great respect. Oh, I see, Jian Wushuang replied with an arched brow. It's much easier to join the Scarlet Island, because the city where you are now is within the control of the Scarlet Island, and there is a recruitment office for the Scarlet Island in this city, the attendant said. Oh, Jian Wushuang laughed, took out an interspatial ring, and said, Take me to the recruitment office, and then the chaos gems in this interspatial ring is yours. The attendant cast a fleeting glance at the interspatial ring, and saw 20 chaos gems inside the interspatial ring. With a hint of joy in his eyes, he took the ring and deferentially said, Your Excellency, please come with me. Afterwards, Jian Wushuang paid the money and followed the attendant to the center of the city. There was indeed a recruitment office for the Scarlet Island. There was a sea of people in the recruitment office, forming two long queues. Obviously, there were a great deal of people who wanted to join the Scarlet Island. Your Excellency, the two lines are for the recruitment of Celestial Masters and Universe Masters respectively. Look, the longer line is for Celestial Masters, and the other is for Universe Masters. Your Excellency, you can go to the line with fewer people, the attendant explained. Okay, thank you. You may leave now, Jian Wushuang said and waved to the attendant. Excuse me, the attendant bowed and took his leave. Then, Jian Wushuang went to the line for Universe Masters. When lining up, he found that the way to recruit cultivators was simple. After briefly judging the applicant's strength, the recruiter would give the applicant a token, and the recruitment was over. Then, the applicant who got the token went to the place where he or she was arranged. Those Universe Masters applicants were absolutely overlords in the eternal world, but they were extremely humble in this recruitment office without putting on airs. It was not long before Jian Wushuang's turn came. Tell me your name and strength. A white-haired elder, who was in charge of handing out tokens, took a glance at him. At the first sight of Jian Wushuang, he found that Jian Wushuang's aura was much stronger than other Universe Masters, but he did not care. Over the years of recruiting, he had met countless Universe Masters, many of whom were more powerful than Jian Wushuang was. Is there any way for me to join the Scarlet Island? Jian Wushuang asked. Well, the Scarlet Island has always valued strength. That is to say, the stronger you are, the higher your position will be, and the higher your status will be on the Scarlet Island, the white-haired elder explained in a deep voice. Oh, I see. Jian Wushuang smiled and pondered for a second before saying, I am an invincible Universe Master. Invincible Universe, the white-haired elder murmured. But he suddenly paused and looked up at Jian Wushuang aghast before finishing his words. Instantly, everyone behind him and in the other line stared in Jian Wushuang's direction. They all heard Jian Wushuang say, Invincible Universe Master. What did you say? The white-haired elder asked in amazement. You are an invincible Universe Master. Are you sure? Jian Wushuang's expression turned eccentric at his question. In terms of battle strength, he was equal to a universe god at the first heaven. However, he had just come to the eternal chaotic world, and he did not want to be too ostentatious. That was why he said he was an invincible Universe Master. But he did not expect such a reaction from the white-haired elder and those around him. He did not know that there were plenty of Universe Masters in the DU world. If he had told the elder that he was a Universe Master at the peak, the elder would not have been so startled, because the Universe Master at the peak was not rare in the DU world, but the Invincible Universe Master was different. Within the entire DU world, Invincible Universe Masters were very rare, even rarer than the Universe God. That was because the Invincible Universe Master had to create unique skills. And if a universe master could create unique skills, he was definitely a real genius. Even the local tyrant Du Palace and the three hegemons took such geniuses seriously. Chapter 1256, Personally Verify. Chapter 1256, Personally Verify. I said I'm a universe master. What's the matter? Jian Wushuang asked in a deep voice. No, nothing. The white-haired elder shook his head repeatedly, realizing his gaffe. Then he politely said, Your Excellency, our Scarlet Island stipulates that experts who are invincible universe masters and above must be verified by our universe god, and then assigned by them. So please wait a little while here. The universe god will verify me personally? Jian Wushuang asked with a strange look. How long do I have to wait? Our universe god Fei Yu is in this city. I've already sent him a message. It will not be long before he arrives. I have to remind you that the temper of the universe gods is very eccentric. When he arrives, if the strength you show is not up to the level of invincible universe master, it will anger universe god Fei Yu, the white-haired elder warned. I know. Jian Wushuang smiled. Then I'll wait for a while. The white-haired elder instantly asked him to the side in a deferential manner. In the corner of the city stood a grand black castle. In the core hall of the castle, two people sat face to face. Fei Yu, this matter depends on you. A cold middle-aged man in black smiled slightly. Haha, no problem, Chin. Don't worry about it, the other man said with a laugh. He was a handsome young man, wearing a luxury robe, and he was universe god Fei Yu, and the owner of the Black Castle. The middle-aged man was universe god Chen, another universe god of the Scarlet Island. He was a famous universe god. As they were talking, universe god Fei Yu's expression suddenly changed. What's wrong, Fei Yu? Asked universe god Chen. The recruitment office reported that there is a person claiming to be an invincible universe master, and I have to come there to verify. Universe god Fei Yu replied. An invincible universe master? Universe god Chen's eyes lit up. Invincible universe masters are rarer than universe gods, and they are very useful. They do everything universe gods cannot. Besides, there are not so many invincible universe masters on the Scarlet Island. Therefore, every time an invincible universe master comes, it is a good thing for us. Indeed. Universe god Fei Yu nodded and asked, Chun, if you're free, why not go there with me? Okay, universe god Chen agreed. Then they left the Black Castle and went to the recruitment office. As soon as the two universe gods arrived at the recruitment office, their terrifying auras spread out, and the entire recruitment office went silent. Besides Jian Wushuang, all the holy masters and universe masters who participated in the recruitment were in awe. He's universe god Fei Yu, and the other seems to be universe god Chen. The two universe gods came personally. They must be here for Jian Wushuang. Many people in the recruitment office whispered. Universe god Chen? Jian Wushuang took a glance at universe god Chen. He had already read the information on many powerful universe gods in the Deu world, and he had recognized the two universe gods. Among the two universe gods, universe god Fei Yu had mediocre strength, barely reaching an advanced level of the first heaven. On the other hand, universe god Chen was very formidable. It was said he had broken through to the peak of the first heaven. Also, universe god Chen was skilled in swordsmanship. With the arrival of the two universe gods, the white-haired elder came to them immediately and saluted respectfully. Who is the invincible universe master that I have to verify? Universe god Fei Yu asked directly. Jian Wushuang immediately came to them and bowed slightly. I'm Jian Wushuang. Greetings, universe gods. Although his words were humble, his manners did not reveal much awe. It was because these two were only universe gods of the first heaven. Even if universe god Chun was at the peak of the first heaven, he was not much stronger than him. Thus, they could not inspire his awe. The two universe gods did not mind it. Every invincible universe master was a genius, and it was normal for a genius to be arrogant. Jian Wushuang, meaning your sword principles are unparalleled. You really have a good name. How about your sword principle? Universe God Chen glanced at Jian Wushuang with a smile. The recruitment office reported that there is a person claiming to be an invincible universe master, and I have to come there to verify. Universe God Fei Yu replied. Here. Jian Wushuang asked in bewilderment. How do I show it? The two universe gods exchanged glances, and then Universe God Chen took a step forward and said, Jian Wushuang, you're good at sword principle, and so am I. So I'll be your opponent. Display your full strength. Don't worry. I'll control my forces and keep it at the level of ordinary universe master. I will be measured and will not hurt you. Fight with you, Universe God Chen? Jian Wushuang's eyes brightened with surprise. He was a universe god at the first heaven, and he was skilled in sword principle. It was a rare opportunity for Jian Wushuang to fight with such an expert. Then please Universe God Chen, he said and cupped his hands towards Universe God Chen. Then, the Blood Mountain sword appeared in his hand. Bring it on. Universe God Chen stood where he was with an indifferent smile, but he did not even take out his sword. Jian Wushuang sighed and squinted. Since he deliberately controls his forces and keep it at the level of an ordinary universe master, then I'll only perform at the same level and fight with him relying on my swordsmanship, he thought. Jian Wushuang did not intend to display all his strength. His foundation was poor. If he revealed his full strength, as a universe master whose battle strength could be compared with that of the universe god, it would be a little cocky. However, he could deliberately control the power of his forces and only reveal his swordsmanship. Start. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up abruptly, and he violently stepped forward. The moment he lifted his foot, a gust of wind burst out. The overwhelming sword shadows were caught in the wind, forming a real sword storm, sweeping towards Universe God Chen. It was the move of Spell of Disturbance that Jian Wushuang created. However, Jian Wushuang did not launch the soul attack this time. He totally counted on his swordsmanship. Your swordsmanship is interesting. Seeing the sword storm sweep over, Universe God Chen smiled slightly, used his fingers as a sword and swung directly. Break! Universe God Chen's chilly voice echoed between heaven and earth, and a scarlet sword light surged and broke the sword storm in a flash. Chapter 1257, Universe God Chen. Chapter 1257, Universe God Chen. What? Jian Wushuang was shocked to see that his spell of disturbance was broken by Universe God Chen easily. Since the spell of disturbance was created, it had never been broken, and at most completely resisted, unless the opponent was much stronger than him. Now, Universe God Chen broke it with the power of an ordinary universe master. What was more, he did not even use his sword. 3 waves. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned chilly, but he showed no anxiety. As the spell of disturbance was broken, he wielded the Blood Mountain sword swiftly. Universe God Chen blocked the 3 sword lights easily as well. This is not enough for me to pull out the sword. Show all your strength. Universe God Chen shouted in a low voice. Hearing his words, Jian Wushuang stopped hesitating. Stroke of dawn. Buzz. The world darkened suddenly, and in the endless darkness, a ray of light suddenly appeared. It was a sword light, but it was stunning like the first light before dawn. Also, it exploded with a terrifying power. Universe God Fei Yu's eyes were alight with surprise by the sword light. He saw that this strike had reached the level of unique skills. Universe God Chen also smiled. That's more like it. As he finished speaking, he turned his hand and conjured a scarlet longsword. Then, Universe God Chen lightly waved his sword. It sent a very slight blow, causing no wave in the void. However, when the sword light fell, the light in the endless darkness was gone. Jian Wushuang was forced to take several steps back violently, each step leaving a big pit on the ground. Fortunately, the land of the Du world was far more stable than that of the Eternal world, the Green Fire world, and the vast void outside the land. In addition, both of them deliberately controlled their forces, so they did not bring much damage to the recruitment office. He's so formidable. After regaining footing, Jian Wushuang looked up at Universe God Chen and felt his heart tense. My stroke of dawn is a unique skill, but it seemed so weak that it was broken by Universe God Chun with a single blow. His understanding of swordsmanship is obviously far deeper than mine. Jian Wushuang sighed in his heart. At this moment, Universe God Chun also looked at him and said, Jian Wushuang, any other skills? The strike just barely made me pull my sword, but it is not powerful enough to let me perform my swordsmanship. Again, there was a hint of excitement in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Although he was defeated, he was not discouraged at all, but raised his blood mountain sword again. Crash! The sword light swept out again. This time, Jian Wushuang displayed the second move he created, the Nirvana. Oh! When the dazzling sword light, which seemed to carry infinite hope and vitality, emerged, Universe God Chen's eyes too were alight. This strike is good. I can display my swordsmanship now. Universe God Chen smiled faintly, then his wrist twisted in a weird way, and a scarlet sword light swept like a fan. Bang! The two sword lights collided. As a result, Jian Wushuang was defeated again. Since Universe God Chen had always controlled his strength, this blow did not bring Jian Wushuang more damage after he was defeated. A silence hung over the recruitment office. Jian Wushuang, that's all. Universe God Feiyu said and came forward. Thus, Jian Wushuang and Universe God Chen stopped. Brother Chen, how is he? Universe God Feiyu asked, and looked at Universe God Chen smiling. Very good. Although his force is not outstanding, only at the level of the ordinary Universe Master, his swordsmanship is good. He has created two kinds of unique skills, and the last unique skill he displayed has reached the higher level of rank 1. In terms of battle strength, he is definitely an invincible Universe Master. If his force can be stronger, he will be an extremely terrifying invincible Universe Master. Universe God Chen concluded with a smile. Jian Wushuang did not show any emotion when he heard this, but he felt weird in the heart. Universe God Chen thought that he had gone all out, but in fact, when he knew that Universe God Chen deliberately suppressed his power, and only used the power of the ordinary Universe Master, he also deliberately suppressed his power. He was an inverse cultivator, and his body had been integrated with the strongest three-sword principles. Moreover, Jian Wushuang was the 4-star imperial god at the top level. In terms of force, he was more than 10 times more powerful than an ordinary Universe Master. However, he had just been suppressing his force, and did not use the power of blood-killing plate armor. As a result, Universe God Chen thought his force was at the level of the ordinary Universe Master. As for the unique skill that Universe God Chen mentioned, it was true. The unique skills of Universe Gods were divided according to the 3 heaven of Universe Gods, including rank 1 to rank 3. In the 2 unique skills that Jian Wushuang created, the Stroke of Dawn was an elementary unique skill at rank 1, which was very common, and the Nirvana was an advanced unique skill at rank 1. Now that Universe God Chen thought you have the battle strength of the invincible Universe Master, you have passed the verification. Jian Wushuang, from now on, you're one of the Scarlet Island, Universe God Feiyu said. Thank you for your instruction, Universe God Chen, and thank you, Universe God Feiyu. Jian Wushuang thanked them. He did benefit a lot from the fight with Universe God Chen. Universe God Feiyu waved his hand and said, the Scarlet Island is one of the 3 hegemons in the DU world, but there aren't so many invincible Universe Masters, and each of them occupy an important position. Jian Wushuang, you joined our Scarlet Island as an invincible Universe Master, so we will arrange an appropriate position for you too. Come with me. Then, Universe God Feiyu and Universe God Chun led Jian Wushuang to that black castle in a corner of the city. However, as soon as the 3 of them left, the recruitment office burst into turmoil. Is the Universe God who fought with Jian Wushuang Universe God Chen? He's so formidable. I heard that Universe God Chun is at the peak of the 1st heaven, and he is in the top 5 on the Scarlet Island. Besides, his swordsmanship is much more excellent. Of course he is formidable. Universe God Chun is formidable, but Jian Wushuang forced him to take out his sword and perform swordsmanship. Jian Wushuang is powerful too. Jian Wushuang joined the Scarlet Island as an Invincible Universe Master. What position can he get? The Invincible Universe Master on the Scarlet Island usually acts as a supervisor or a divine general. Jian Wushuang should also be a supervisor. Many of the Universe Masters and Celestial Masters in the recruitment office chatted furiously. For these people, universe gods were unattainable, and invincible universe masters were big shots that they could only look up to. Chapter 1258, The Seventh Divine General. Chapter 1258, The Seventh Divine General. In a grand hall of the Black Castle, Universe God Feiyu and Universe God Chen sat side by side. Jian Wushuang, generally speaking, there are two positions on Scarlet Island for an advanced Universe Master to choose from, Supervisor and Divine General. Universe God Feiyu told Jian Wushuang. A supervisor is responsible for the inspection of our territory and some special places. Many people dream of this job because no one dares to offend a supervisor in his local territory. So if you become a supervisor, you can lead an easy life and make personal fortunes. Feiyu was telling the truth. A supervisor in Scarlet Island did have a lot of chances to make money. The Divine General would go to 9-Star Sea, the perimeter of our territory, where there are a great deal of experts. Also, you have to come in contact with other forces like Golden Sun Sect and Holy Prefecture. Fierce battles are inevitable. A Divine General needs to fight wars in the name of Scarlet Island. It's more dangerous than a supervisor, but you will gain more opportunities. You should decide which one is better for you. I'll give you 3 days to make a choice, Universe God Feiyu said. Not necessary. I can make my choice now. I want to be a Divine General, Jian Wushuang replied. Oh. Universe God Feiyu and Universe God Chen smiled at each other. They were not surprised. When Jian Shuang fought with Universe God Chen, they found he was aggressive. An aggressive person like him would never choose to be a supervisor. Such was the fact. At present, Jian Wushuang wanted to practice more in order to face inverse cultivation disaster. He would not join Scarlet Island if he wanted to have an easy life. Here is your ID token. Take it and find Commander Man E in 9-Star Sea. He will arrange everything. Universe God Feiyu tossed a token to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang took the token and put it into his interspatial ring. Then he bowed and walked away. He walked out of the Black Castle and left for 9-Star Sea. 9-Star Sea, the perimeter of Scarlet Island, was a boundless sea that engulfed the whole Diyu world. Scarlet Island was one of the 3 hegemons outside the Diyu world. It controlled a vast territory. The city where Jian Wushuang stayed was distant from 9-Star Sea. Since this land was unique, he was unable to reach there by spaceship, so Jian Wushuang spent 6 months walking to 9-Star Sea. After he arrived at the military base in 9-Star Sea, he went to see Commander Man E. Commander Man E was second only to the Lord in strength and influence. All the experts in 9-Star Sea were under the command of him. I'm Jian Wushuang, Your Highness. Jian Wushuang saw the commander in a palace. The strapping man was about 3 meters high. With whiskers on the cheeks, he looked like a brown bear. The aura he released was very tyrannical. You are Jian Wushuang. He glanced at Jian Wushuang. Feiyu mentioned you not long ago. He said you were good at swordsmanship. You even displayed advanced unique skills at the first realm. With only the strength of Universe Master, Chen had to defeat you by a sword. He went easy on me, Jian Wushuang replied humbly. Good. Commander Man E had a cold look on his face. It's amazing for an advanced Universe Master to display unique skills at the level of Universe Master. But few of geniuses like you become Universe Gods. If you are frivolous, I'm sure you will suffer the God test. I got it. Jian Wushuang nodded. How long have you cultivated, Jian Wushuang? The commander asked. Well, Jian Wushuang hesitated for a while and answered, nearly 10,000 years. In fact, he had cultivated for less than 5,000 years. He was unwilling to attract attention, so he said a longer time. Do you mean less than 10,000 years? Looking at Jian Wushuang in astonishment, Commander Man E asked him, Were you born in Dayu world or eternal world? I was born in eternal world, and recently left my hometown. Jian Wushuang answered honestly. Recently? So you have reached the level of an advanced universe master on your own, in the ordinary eternal world, in less than 1,000 years. You're a true genius. Commander Manny nodded and said, in 9-star Sea, there are 6 divine generals under my command. From now on you're the 7th. Thank you, Jian Wushuang said immediately. This is your ID token. It contains unique aura from which experts on Scarlet Island can know you for a divine general. Commander Manny added, now I have a mission for you. The mission is simple. You can use it for practice. Well, somebody call the 2nd and the 5th divine general. Commander Man-yi ordered peremptorily without giving Jian Wushuang any time to ask questions. Soon 2 figures came in. Your Highness. They were a man and a woman. The man was handsome and looked a little defiant. The woman was extremely attractive, but her aura was extremely tyrannical. Jian Wushuang, they are the 2nd divine general Lin Dong, and the 5th divine general Mou. The commander introduced both sides briefly. This is Jian Wushuang, the person who has just joined our Scarlet Island. The 2 divine generals nodded at Jian Wushuang. Both of them already know about the mission. Just ask them later, Jian Wushuang. Commander Manny said in a loud voice, and then turned toward Lin Dong and Mou. It's a simple mission. Give him a chance to practice. Understood, Your Excellency. Lin Dong and Mou nodded gravely. Well, go prepare for the mission. The commander waved his hand. Then the 3 divine generals left. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.